Good morning, Dr. Freaks. Lexi Outs here, and it's Sunday morning. I'm doing a Sunday special report, and we're continuing to talk about the returns Carter's 15 with the Raptors. I was thinking about this. There's a couple of ways we could do this where it kind of lessens things. In fact, we've already done one of them, and that is let people wear 15 after he retired, which is what we did. There were many, many people who wore 15 after Vince Carter quit on the Raptors and went to New Jersey. People like Greg Monroe, Jorge Garbosa, Anthony Bennett. Yeah, there were quite a few people that wore 15 afterwards. And in some ways, letting somebody wear the number of somebody who gets their jersey retired afterwards isn't as special. And I'm going to say this right now that number 7 and number 10 have not been worn since DeRozan and Lowry left our team. And that, in some ways, is the proper way to jersey retire a number. Some people are even saying that maybe we shouldn't even like bar people from wearing 15 on the team. That could be another level of changing how numbers are retired. Some teams don't do this. The Jays, they have their circle of honor or ring of honor or whatever, where they put the names around the stadium at Skydome, but those numbers are available. People can wear the numbers of Joe Carter and Roberto Alomar and all those different people that were there, except for one. Roy Halladay's number is protected and not allowed to be used. And in some ways, that was decided because he's a Hall of Famer and also because of his tragic early death, that Roy Halladay is the only number that you cannot wear as a Blue Jay. But you can wear Joe Carter's number. You can wear Dave Stieb or whoever else is on the wall there. In some ways, jersey retiring numbers is stupid because you go run out of numbers at some point. Just ask the Celtics. You ain't going to have enough numbers to field a team. It's very limited when you show up on the Celtics and say, hey, what number can I have? Well, you can't have that one. You can't have that one. No, you can't have that one. So in some ways, there's different ways of looking at this. There's different ways of looking at this. Of course, I'm against this jersey retirement. We talked about this a lot in the last few days. I still am. And I feel like it sends a very bad message out on a couple of different fronts. It is a bad message about respect for the Raptors because in some ways, Vince Carter is the biggest villain in the history of the Raptors franchise. He is. He's the biggest villain. He's right up there with Nick Nurse. Those guys are probably the top two worst villains in the history of the Raptors. And people would be like, Lex, you're crazy. Nick Nurse was our championship coach. And Vince Carter put us on the map. Yeah, but they're villains still because of the way they exited, because of being snakes, because of quitting on the team. Both of them quit on our team at a certain point while they were still employed and supposed to be doing their job. So, it's a weird thing in some ways about this jersey retirement. There's different levels to it. And in some ways, well, I think we should still give the 15 out to people. I really, really do. Now, the fact that the Raptors are retiring Vince's jersey first is disrespectful. It's disrespectful to the fans that pay the money, that are the lifeblood of the franchise, because we don't like this. There's so many of us, and these are the people that are loyal and to the team, like Nabatia, that have bought tickets for decades. And a lot of us do not like this. We do not like this. And in some ways, this is a turnoff. This is something that will maybe hurt their sales this year. As much as people think they're going to help the sales, no, they won't help the sales in some ways because there's old fans that are usually the season ticket holders that have been for long, long, long period of time. And some of them are not deciding to renew with their tickets and they're moving on in their lives. And some of them may be because Rodgers has bought the team. In fact, Michael Grange has pretty much justified or validated my claim that Ed Rodgers becoming the primary owner of the Raptors and MLSE is the reason why this is happening now. In fact, let me go to a Grange article from a couple days ago, and this is exactly what he said. Some might even draw a connection between Carter being honored and the recent change in the team's ownership structure, with longtime Raptors chairman and minority owner Larry Tenenbaum losing his influence with the shift of Bell's shares, his steadfast ally at the board level, to Rodgers last week. Like a lot of fans, the Tenenbaums hadn't completely gotten over the way Carter left the organization and were resistant to giving him a franchise's ultimate honor, at least ahead of Kyle Lowry, for example. So this is very telling and interesting. Larry Tannenbaum's a real one. And in some ways, Larry was the one holding back Vince getting his jersey retired. For everybody was mad because the Raptors had not retired Vince Carter's jersey yet. Well, owner Larry Tannenbaum is the reason why. He was the one in charge, and he was like, no, we're not going to retire Vince's number. In some ways, Larry gets it. Larry's been in the fight, in the fray for the Raptors for a long, 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 long time. A very, very important person on our team. And he was around the team during the Vince years as a part owner at that time then. He saw it all went down. He's just like us old fans that saw it all went down. And as somebody who's very, very passionate about the Raptors, someone who very much loves this team so much and really, really, really reveled and enjoyed our 2019 championship and really, really helped us build to get there, Larry Tannenbaum is a real one. And he knows that retiring Vince Carter's jersey before Kyle Lowry is a cardinal sin in Raptors world. Because he's more like me and you as Raptor freaks than the average owner or person around the Raptors hierarchy. And in some ways, Larry was the gatekeeper, keeping Vince from getting his jersey retired. And I applaud you, Larry Tannenbaum. You did this successfully for many, many years. But now that Ed Rodgers is in charge, he's showing a power play. It could very well be that Ed Rodgers was on down low, pushing for Vince's jersey to be retired for a while. And Larry was like, nah, and Bell's with me, and we're voting against you on this, and you are not going to get it. Well, now that Ed is in charge, it's going through almost immediately. In fact, I'm pretty sure this is what it was. In some ways, I question and wonder about Masai Ujiri and how much he is really wholeheartedly doing this jersey retirement. I'm serious, because in some ways, Masai's Raptors vision has nothing to do with Vince Carter's legacy with the Raptors. In some ways, Masai's vision was winning and going for championships and making the Raptors a number one organization in the NBA, being a creme de la creme, the best of all, running at the highest professional level. And that's what he's done. He built our team up along with DeRozan and Lowry and Dwayne Casey and made us a contender, built a culture here with Larry Tannenbaum as the owner looking over. And, you know, that what Masai has built here in Toronto is very special. But, you know, retiring Vince's number and having him come out on Friday to Dixon Court and talk shit about us to our faces while we're honoring him, it's a real sucks. It sucks. It flashes me back to 2005 and all the bullshit that Vince was saying, the disrespect he had for the Toronto Raptors at that time. You've got to understand, Vince. You got an opportunity to play in the NBA by coming to Toronto and playing for Toronto. You got an opportunity to become a worldwide superstar because you came to Toronto. And in some ways, yeah, you can say it's all because of you, but bullshit, motherfucker. Because you were on a special team in a special place, you know, you got that showcase. I don't understand. Most players come in the league and they just feel honored and privileged to play in the NBA for the team that they're on. We just seen Cat get traded after 9 years of the Minnesota Timberwolves blindsided. And he had never, ever, ever requested a trade out of Minnesota because he knows it and he does it right. But Vince, to him, things are disposable. People are disposable. Organizations are disposable. And honestly, he has never truly respected Toronto or the Raptors, even when he played for them. It was all about him. It was all about his dunks. It was all about flash. And in some ways, it wasn't about winning. It wasn't about the team. He said at the ceremony on Friday, oh, it's the front name that matters, not the one on the back. Bullshit, Vince. That's not how you carried yourself in your life. Maybe later on and later in your career when you became a role player as a vet on teams like Memphis and Sacramento, yeah, maybe the front of the jersey mattered more. But when you played for the Raptors, don't bullshit us. The last name on the back of the jersey was the one that was most important to you. And it's just really like condescending. Some of the ways you talked about our team in the last couple days in the interviews. I can't believe that we allowed you to get a microphone and put our team down to our faces while we're honoring you. That you would go and say to our players, hey, if you guys want other opportunities in the NBA, I can help you out. I'm a mentor. Other teams. He literally said that to our Raptors players. And I can't stand him. I can't stand him for it. And I am so against this retirement jersey thing that I'm going to find every which way to discredit it and encourage people to be in their true feelings about this and know that nothing's been healed because this motherfucker has not come correct and clean on coming clean with us. And it would take so little, honestly, Vince. It would take so little, and you are not big enough to even just give us that little bit of apology or any kind of like admitting you did something wrong. The fact that you are so blind to the fact that you quit on the team, you did not try. You said you would not dunk. You admitted it to the press, and now you're saying you did nothing wrong. Just shows just how much of a character flaw you have as far as not being aware of yourself. And I know that I sound like a broken record from some of the things I've been already saying this week, but it needs to be hammered home. And in some ways, I haven't really posted content with his face on it. And I want people that are coming to watch this because they want to see stuff about Raptors and Vince Carter retirement to hear my unblemished, unfiltered opinion on this. Let's go to another story that's very interesting. And this will be interesting to you guys right here. Charles Oakley. Yeah, the great Raptor, Charles Oakley, great Nick. Well, listen to this. I don't know if y'all knew this or not, but the Knicks wanted to retire Charles Oakley's number in around 2018. But this was also the same time that Charles Oakley was fighting with James Dolan, that there was a lawsuit, and it's still currently going on. And it is over a dumb thing where James Dolan kicked him out of the game, and there was a physical altercation and stuff like that. Well, Oakley was asked if he would like to have his jersey retired by the Knicks, even though he was banned by the Knicks from coming to the arena by James Dolan. And he basically said, nah, he's like, nah, you can't buy me like that easy. If you retire the jersey, it benefits you. It ain't benefiting me. And this is the thing. Oakley's a real one. He understands this. He said he didn't want it because it was a ticket selling scheme, just like what's happening with Vince right now. He said, if you want to put outside with the flag and people don't have to pay to come and see it, then let them pass and see it. Let it be a tourist spot. So he's just saying that they want to retire Charles Oakley's number in New York, but he won't allow it. He said, fuck James Dolan. If he's the owner of the team, I do not want my jersey retired, and I don't want him capitalizing off my name to make money off of me. Because in some ways, Oakley doesn't see the retirement of the jersey as a benefit to himself. He don't need that shit. And in some ways, he's more of a real one than Vince. Vince needs this for his ego. Vince needs this because of all the pain of the Boo Birds from Toronto. In some ways, Vince, you what did you expect, man? Like, how dense are you that you would think that people here are going to just blindly love you if you're going to do what you did on your way out? Seriously, some people do, but they're immature or they're just kind of like silly people that aren't really into the basketball or the Raptors. In some ways, the people that are mad at us for waiting so long to retire his jersey are not Raptors fans. They're general NBA fans. They're fans that loved Vince Carter's dunks from other teams. And that's the only reason why. In some ways, they do understand the situation and how he quit on us. And they think it's a joke that if we retire his jersey, that it just makes us look stupid. And it does. It really does. Because, longtime NBA fans that are not Raptors fans can see this whole situation and they're laughing. They're laughing at us. In some ways, Ed Rogers being in charge and allowing this to happen has allowed us to be a laughing stock because we are retiring Vince Carter's jersey. In some ways, we are actually being forced to, whether it's by the NBA, whether it's because the Brooklyn Nets are putting the pressure on us to do this. In some ways, some people are saying, even in Nets Nation, that Vince doesn't deserve to get his jersey retired there. This is a symptom of the new NBA. Teams have players are jumping from team to team so much. How do they establish roots or longevity or stats long enough to be a legitimate jersey retirement prospect for a franchise? You're Vince Carter. You played for like 7 or 8 teams over 22 years. You broke it up all into little batches. You're not Karl Malone, who spent most of his career on the Utah Jazz. You're not Larry Bird, that played his whole entire career on the Boston Celtics. In some ways, the whole player movement of the NBA at this point is not conducive to garner and grow new people that deserve to get their jerseys retired. Yeah. In some ways, it's a dumb ceremony. It's like Grange is saying this, and he's exactly right. And I appreciate him for this. He's saying it's just something that, like, it's not really, where is it? I want to read the last part. I think it's on the end where he says it. He's just saying that having a jersey and retiring a number isn't creating something. It's merely acknowledging And in some ways, this is true. In some ways, this is just a whole bunch of window dressing, distraction. And in some ways, this is just acknowledging the past. But in some ways, this isn't anything new. This is anything novel. This isn't anything. Sure, Vince's ego is going to get like a massage. He's going to feel better. And maybe he'll feel like things are good. But you know what? You're not getting a clean jersey retirement here in Toronto. You're not. Especially when somebody like me, the Raptors freak, and the super fan Monique Lawrence do not approve of this. In some ways, we do not approve of this in any kind of way. And Larry Tannenbaum, the owner of the team, he doesn't approve of this either, but he has to go along with it because his power has been stripped since Bell sold their shares. And it is what it is. But yeah, I want to talk more about the Vince stuff or anything having to do with the Raptors. You know, the Raptor Freak Show. Just get in there in the chat and let's see some comments, baby. Yeah. I really love Oakley. I feel like that just says so much about him, that he's like, he understands the game, that he's self-aware enough to understand, yeah, you just want to use me, motherfucker, to sell some more jerseys and make some money off of me. And he's like, nah, fuck you, you piece of shit, James Dolan. You're not getting this from me. I refuse to get my jersey retired. That's such a badass thing to do, what Charles Oakley did. In some ways, that is more cool than getting your jersey retired when half your team fan base does not want you to get it, Vince Carter. It's way more cool than Charles Oakley. The Knicks are dying to retire his jersey, and he's saying, no, bitches, I do not want my jersey retired because I have standards. I have excellence in my life, unlike Vince Carter, the quitter. Vince Carter, half man, half assing. That's right. That's right. There you go. Isaac Campbell's first in the chat. He's got the cup. He's got the Larry O.B. with a big smile on it. Trevor J is here. Good to see Commissioner Fun, Trevor J. Good morning, family. I may not be the best, but I sure am trying my best. There you go. And you could say that better than Vince Carter at the end of his Raptors career. That motherfucker is so full of it. You know, I agree with Gilbert Arenas right now. I don't normally agree with Gilbert Arenas. I think he's an idiot. But he is exactly right when he says that Vince Carter coasted on his talent and he was lazy. In fact, I found interviews with Vince Carter from early on in his career where he said, yeah, I could be trying harder, but I'm just so talented, I can just do things easily. That's true. I mean, a lot of people can look from the outside and see, Vince, the game comes to you very naturally and gracefully. You're one of the most amazing athletic dunkers in the history of the NBA, if not the greatest. But the game came so easy to you. You're one of these guys that DeMar DeRozan wrote about in his book that coasted on their talent and never really put the skill work in. And in some ways, I don't respect players like you, and DeMar DeRozan doesn't either to a degree. Sure, DeMar can be dazzled by your dunk exhibition out at Oakland in 2000. But in some ways, your career and the trajectory of your stats and the way you played over your long, long career is not that exciting. In some ways, it's kind of depressing and sad how you went downhill so quickly in your career. And then you just hung around like an end of the bench guy for like 10 years just to fucking get more time in the NBA. It's almost like you're pathetic, man. In some ways, you know, Michael Jordan, if he wasn't able to do stuff a certain level, well, he wanted to walk away. And in some ways, him coming back to the Wizards may have been slightly a mistake, but he did try his damnedest. And he did play at a very high level at that age. But, dude, you were coasting at the end of your career pretty much for the last 10 years. I mean, you just wanted to collect the checks and just show up. And in some ways, you were just a glorified bench player for the second half of your career. That's kind of sad in some ways. In some ways, if you know, there is some dubiousness about whether Vince Carter should be in the Hall of Fame just for his career. Seriously, if you just look at his career, forget about the dunk competition. Forget about the Air Canada Carter effect and just look at his stats in his career. He's not a Hall of Famer. He did not win any championships, and his stats suck, honestly, if you really look at them for the longevity of his whole entire 22 years. In some ways, he bottomed out his scoring average as his career went on and on, averaging like 7 points at the end of his career, 11 points at the end of his career, way past his prime, but holding on. And just for his ego, I'm going to stay in the league. I'm going to stay in the league. Maybe you want to stay in the league for this 4 decades record that he played in 4 different decades. There's all kinds of stupid reasons why he probably did it. And they're all self-serving and for himself. Trust me. They're all self-serving and for himself. Trevor's saying that Anthony Edwards said Karl Anthony Towns is a bomb. He and Rudy too soft and too light skinned to win a championship for the Wolf. Okay, I don't know exactly what you mean. He's a bomb? You mean he's a bum? Is that what he said? I thought that Anthony Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns were buddies. Now, there was a clip where they went to a convenience store and they're buying something. And in some ways, they weren't jiving in that clip. I could tell. Like Anthony Edwards kind of acting out, and Karl Anthony Towns wasn't really having it. And I could tell that they didn't really seem like they were like meshing very well, just in that little clip of them being at a store hanging out that I saw in the last couple of years. So, I mean, it's weird. Some people have said that Anthony Edwards really likes Karl Anthony Towns. I've heard that, but I've also heard shit like what you're saying, that he's glad he's gone and he thinks he's a bum. Like, what about Rudy? Rudy's more of a bum than Karl Anthony Towns, if you ask me, Anthony Edwards. I don't know. Either way, Minnesota Timberwolves business and toxicness, that's their own kind of shit to deal with. That's their own kind of shit to deal with. That's right. Monique is here. The super fan Monique Lawrence has joined us once again in the morning. And let's see what she's saying. Good morning, Raptor Freak crew. 7 more days until Raptors preseason media day tomorrow. That's right. Excitement. Next week is coming up tomorrow. Media day. And this is what I'm going to do, guys. I'm not going to go on live tomorrow morning at 9:30. We're going to watch the media day. And when media day is over, I will start my stream afterwards and give you guys an immediate reaction after we watch the media day interviews. So I can't tell you exactly when my stream will start tomorrow, but I'm going to guess it may start around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. So just so y'all know, I'm not on in the morning tomorrow at 9:30. I'm going to watch the media day with you while you guys are watching it too. And then when it's over, I will immediately go live on my stream and talk a reaction about all the things that were said on media day tomorrow. So just a little programming note for tomorrow. That's right. Kyle Lowry's number 7, more days until Bell Center, Montreal, Washington Wizards, Jonas Valanciunas and the crew against our Raptors, starting our preseason off. Let's go. We've got training camp this week. It's the tradition to do media day, and then immediately later that day, get on the plane and fly out to wherever we're doing our training camp, which is in Montreal this year at McGill University. And they will be there on Tuesday. And we'll have all the updates and news from training camp and stuff that we find out here on the Raptor Freak channel. So if you want your daily digest of Raptor stuff, this is your place. Every single morning, we're talking Raptors. That's right. Mo's saying, I will forever stand with Larry Tenenbaum. And Josh Lewinberg on Kyle Lowry. Yes, Larry. That's right. And I'm standing with you guys also. Yeah, I had a feeling that this was part of the reason why we're all of a sudden doing this, that we switched course on this, because I was sure that there was somebody in our organization that was blocking Vince from any kind of retirement, and it was Larry. And in some ways, Larry's a real one for it. Excuse me. In some ways, Masai Ujiri, Larry Tenenbaum have the same mentality about winning and having a world-class organization. Vince Carter does not have that for us. He looks at the Raptors as a second-class NBA team and a team that should be in the bottom of the standings, a team that should be so feeling so lucky and like just really, oh my gosh, you won a championship once. Don't ever think you're going to ever happen again. Because in some ways, that's what he said. It's like they're calling it moments. Whether it's enjoy the moment of getting a jersey retirement for your lowly franchise that doesn't have any other things like this, because I'm the first and you've never had this, or enjoy the moment because you won a championship somehow, some way against the odds, and I don't think it'll ever happen again. That's the mentality of Vince Carter. That's the way he looks at us. And in some ways, that's not building a culture, building alumni, building a history with honoring people that are honoring us back. In some ways, he doesn't honor us back, guys. In some ways, he could give a shit about Toronto ever winning another championship. He probably hated that we won the championship. In some ways, when we're languishing and we're bad, he's happier than when we're on top of the Atlantic Division and we are a true playoff contender. In some ways, you can tell. In him, our proper place is being a sub team in the league and not among the top teams in the league competing for a Larry O'Brien. And that mentality is shared by a lot of people down south in the United States. A lot of people don't want the Raptors to be a top team. In some ways, they saw what happened when we won, and they're like, never again. And in some ways, we also know that Vince works for ESPN. So he's inside the machine, and he probably hears the way people talk about us from there. And this informs why his mindset is like this. Do you understand why this is so toxic then? Other franchises like the Lakers, they build a culture through people like Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson is an amazing alumni for that franchise. He cares about the Lakers so much. He loves the Lakers. He bleeds purple and gold. He wants to help the Lakers at every turn, whether it's in management, as a coach, whatever he can do to help the Lakers, Magic Irvin Johnson is doing it. Vince Carter doesn't have that kind of action for us, guys. He's not looking out for us. In fact, he could be detrimental. He could be toxic. He could literally get in front of our players that are currently on our team and tell them, if you want help and mentorship, I can help you get other opportunities, like going to another team. He blatantly said that on Friday at Dixon Court on Friday, and when he was on the microphone. You can hear it. Go back and watch it. It's on Raptors official YouTube channel. You can hear it. It's at like the 33-minute mark of the thing. Yeah, it's crazy. How can we build a winning culture and establish this when we're honoring our biggest villain in our history of our franchise? Seriously, how can we build something like the storied history of the Boston Celtics when we're doing this? We're honoring a jackass that turned his back on us, crapped all over us, and not only did he do it when he left, he's doing it again right now while we're honoring him. It's not self-respect for ourselves. And that's why I want to separate myself from this. That's why I'm saying, no, I have more self-respect for myself, Masai Ujiri, Nab Bhatia. I'm not going to get on this train with you and get in the love fest for Vince because I have more self-respect for myself. And I do truly believe that the Raptors are a winning organization that deserves to be a playoff contender year in and year out. I truly believe Ujiri's vision and how he carries himself and what he built over the last decade or so. And if other Raptors fans are young and they want to get all into the dunks and the highlights and all this stuff, and woo, okay, you're not serious basketball fans. You're children. And in some ways, real ones that want Larry O'Brien's, real ones that know what it takes to win basketball, which is defense and rebounding. You guys can get all enamored with the three-point shot and the slam dunk, but the way you win is through what I just said. And I'm telling you, this is a horrible, horrible statement about our culture that we're going to retire the biggest villain in our history as the first ever jersey retirement for our franchise. It's disgusting. It's sad. I reject it. I'm going to say when that number 7 goes up there, that's the first Raptors retired jersey, and I will disregard that 15. If they can not put a name on it, I will put Johnson over it. I will ignore it. Every single thing I can do to dispute it and just ignore it and not pay attention to it, I will do it going forward. Now, there's one last chance. If Vince comes out there during the jersey retirement ceremony on November the 2nd against the Sacramento Kings, and he comes clean, if he can finally man up and admit his mistakes a little bit and heal some things with the fans like me, maybe we can do something. And I'm still open to it. I'm not so crazy that I'm just like, yeah, he's dead to me. No, he's had chances for 20 years to fix things and admit where he's wrong, but he's too proud. He's too arrogant and he's too egotistical to see his place in this. And whatever, Vince, you go ahead. And other people complain and blame Rob Babcock. They're going to blame the Raptors organization, all this stuff. Yeah, they had a part in it. I will agree. But Vince had his own part in it also. Let's not get it twisted. Everybody is responsible for their own actions, and quiet quitting, not dunking, doing what he did is solely on him, is what I'm going to say right there. Yeah. Sue is here. Good morning, Raptor Freak family. I agree with you, Mo. I really thought Kyle should be number 1. A lot of people think this, but Kyle, he's just got longevity. The dude just keeps playing. And in some ways, it would have been nice if Kyle walked away this summer and we could have done him before Vince. Oh, that would have been perfect. But no. He's going back, and he's going to play for the Sixers again this season. And it's too bad. It is what it is. In some ways, I wanted to do DeMar, too, before I wanted to do ever come near Vince. I knew that eventually maybe we did retire Vince's number, but there's an order to things. And in some things, Vince, he may have won an exhibition dunk competition. He may have encouraged people to play basketball in Canada, but he didn't win a championship like Kyle Lowry did. He didn't get to the top of our franchise leaders like DeMar DeRozan did. He didn't go and sacrifice himself and call himself I am Toronto and was a real one in his heart for this team right here over my heart right here like DeMar DeRozan did either. And that's the thing. Vince doesn't respect Toronto. He doesn't respect the Raptors. He doesn't respect the Raptors fans. And why the fuck are we honoring him? That's what I say right there. That's right. Cowboys saying, good morning, Lex and Monique and Raptor Freaks. Vince better smarten up and apologize to the fans. Yeah, I don't expect it. I'm pretty sure it's just going to be what it's been all along, and that this guy just has no idea. He's clueless. In some ways, he's in his own little world of his ego, and he has no idea the whole real thing of it. You're never, ever going to get a clean adulation here in Canada, ever, Vince. And you being the biggest villain in our franchise is true. It's very, very, very true. Cowboys saying VC is lucky he's getting the opportunity. I agree. Lowry or DeRozan should be first. You know, Vince was very condescending on Friday. He said, Alvin, we got to remember up here, they just didn't have basketball courts or something like that. It's like he thinks he granted Canada basketball. Like, seriously, somebody told him, oh, you're the one reason why basketball is popular in Canada. That may be slightly true, but he feels like he created basketball for us. Nah, bitch. A Canadian named Dr. James Naismith is who created basketball and gave it to you, motherfucker. Nah, you didn't give basketball to Canada. A Canadian gave basketball to you. Let's not get this twisted. How about that? Yeah. Sue's saying, yes, he needs to develop some humility, in my opinion. Yeah, in some ways, the dude is so fucking cocky. He's always been this way. He was this way when he was in UNC. He was this way when he was a kid. He's still cocky. And in some ways, nobody's ever set him in his place because, honestly, his athletic ability and his ability to wow people and dazzle people with a sizzle, it has gone a long way to keeping him insulated in this, Sue, to keeping him insulated. I'm so happy to see Played Again Sue this morning, guys, in the chat. Sue is awesome. She's an original Raptor freak from the very beginning of my channel for 3 years now. Sue has been watching my channel. I love you, Sue. And y'all check out Play It Again Sue. It's a music reaction channel here on YouTube. Her channel is awesome, y'all. So give her a follow. Seriously. Cowboys saying, let's go, Sue. Yeah, so happy to see Sue. Jimmy's here. I'm a little salty about Vince getting his number retired. He sold out on us. He doesn't deserve shit. This narrative change is BS. Yeah, Jimmy, good to see you. The Popa Positivity returning to the chat. We love you, Jimmy. I hope you've been well. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's crazy. The narrative change is really, I think it does have a lot to do with Ed Rogers. That Ed Rogers is just like, in some ways let's think about how he runs the Blue Jays. And let's think about how the Blue Jays are kind of half-assed in some ways. Yeah, their front office has not done well. Maybe they spend the money, but in some ways they're a little half-assed. In some ways they don't have direction. They don't have a Masai Ujiri involved that keeps the quality control up, that has the culture. And in some ways, I don't know if Ed Rogers wants the Raptors to have quality control like a Masai Ujiri coming up. It could very well be he just wants a profit-driven sports team that he doesn't really care whether they win or not. This is a very, very big concern we have with the shift in our ownership recently, that this may be true. But we'll have to see. We just got to ride through it and see what happens. In some ways, we may be very, very much hating Ed Rogers more and more as time goes on. And this is actually, I'm going to say this is probably his very first act as the new majority owner of MLSE, is that we have to retire Vince's number. And that he may have put his foot down and said, yeah, this is me flexing my muscle because I'm in charge now. Larry, you didn't want this to happen? Well, look, a big F you. I'm making it happen now. Because I think that's part of what's happening here, is that Larry Tannenbaum was the gatekeeper. And he was the one saying, we're not going to retire Vince's number. And because people were saying we should have done this like immediately after he retired 4 years ago. And so for 4 years, Larry Tannenbaum has held off the Vince Carter jersey retirement, rightfully so, trying to hold out for when maybe Kyle Lowry will retire and do him first. Now, in some ways, yes, probably inevitably we would have retired Vince's number at some point. But in some ways, it's like, why do we have to retire the number? Let young players in Canada wear number 15 for the Raptors and maybe in honor of him. In some ways, don't let people wear 7 or 10, but maybe young Raptors coming into the system can wear the 15. And in some ways, we could say it's honoring you, Vince, that they're wearing your number. Because people wore your number after you left. It's not like it's special. It's not like your 15 is special. Yeah, there's a lot of people that wore 15 after you left. And the Raptors never held it out for you. Because honestly, you didn't deserve that. You didn't deserve that. That's right. Sue saying thank you to Bradley. That's awesome. So happy to see Sue and Jimmy in the chat this morning. Nako saying, Lex, would Dr. J have been a good GM for the Raptors? Yeah, this is part of what is... the talk is that, all right, at the time when the Raptors switched to Rob Babcock, one of the job candidates to be the GM of the Raptors was Dr. J. And Dr. J did not get the job. And some people are saying that that's part of the reason why Vince wanted to get the hell out of Toronto, is because he wanted Dr. J to be the boss, but we picked Rob Babcock instead. That's MLSE and their bullshit. That's Richard Petty and his sorry ass being more important to the hockey stuff. He's running the Leafs really like mindfully, but the Raptors are an afterthought. That's a lot of what was happening at that time. Dr. J has never actually been a front office person as a GM. Dr. J's been a community ambassador. He's been something for the Magic for most of his career. He was doing stuff for the Magic where he's like kind of like Wayne Embry. It's kind of like that. He would have been like, he was like Wayne Embry for us, for the Magic. And in some ways, Dr. J never really was a front office guy. So this doesn't make any sense. In some ways, if we had put Dr. J in that spot, it would have been a little bit like Isaiah in the beginning, a player that didn't really have experience doing the job. Isaiah was a home run. Isaiah was a really good team president for the Raptors in their very beginning. But I don't know if Dr. J would have been a good GM. Just coming in and doing it for the first time, because honestly, he had never done it before that moment. So anybody thinking, oh, they should have picked Dr. J instead of Rob Babcock, well, he didn't have any experience, and Rob Babcock did. He had been an assistant GM for a couple people already, and his brother Pete was also a GM in the NBA, just so y'all know. So yeah, I don't know if he would have been. We have no idea. Dr. J really never was a GM in some ways. So it may have been just a name, and Vince may have wanted it just because of, oh, it's Dr. J, a hero, another great dunker like me. But great question, Nako. And thanks for rejoining the Fantasy Basketball League for this year, Nako. I see that you got in there. Jimmy's saying should have been number 7 in the Raptors first. Lowry's the epitome of Raptors basketball. That's a champion. That's an Olympic gold medalist. That's an all-star. That's a guy who never sold us out. That's a guy who understands his legacy with Toronto, and he protected it. He like a little egg, an unboiled egg that can be shattered and fragile. Yeah, you got to take care of that kind of stuff. Relationships in the NBA. In some ways, Vince's relationship with the Raptors was never that important. His relationship with the NBA in general was the most important thing to him. And in some ways, he looked at the NBA as a big, huge family, and he didn't ever look at it as a Raptors family. And that's part of the problem. In some ways, Vince Carter epitomizes the change in the league that sucks, as far as the Friends League, the NBA Friends League, where I used to love the NBA when Bird and Magic hated each other, when Isaiah and Michael hated each other, when Reggie Miller and the Knicks went and battled and hated each other. That league went away because of people like Vince Carter being soft and wanting to be everybody's friend and being out there with everybody. Hey, how you doing? Oh, on the other teams. He was more friendly with other teams than his own teammates. He looked down on his teammates. And he even said on Friday that a lot of my teammates that I played with in the past didn't want to be here in Toronto. He literally said that at his Hall of Fame or his jersey announcement at the Dixon Court on Friday. He literally said, yeah, well, I was playing on the Raptors. There were tons of guys who came on the team and they did not want to be here. Why do you even point that out? Why are you talking about that? Seriously, why are you throwing shade on us while we're honoring you? What a piece of shit is what I'm saying right now. And you're exactly right, Jimmy. Kyle Lowry is the epitome of the GOAT, the greatest Raptor of all time. And Vince Carter is the GOAT, the greatest villain of all time for the Raptors. Yeah, he's a villain. I don't understand why we got to honor a villain. Why do we have to put his dumbass jersey above us in our own arena forever? Seriously, I guess it's because a villain owns our team now, and villains love villains. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll put Vince up there. I know how much Raptors fans hate him. Well, I hate Raptors fans, and I own their team now, so I'm going to go ahead and put fucking the most hated Raptor ever up above in the rafters. I mean, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. That's right. Nako's saying, I think my biggest villain as a Raptors fan are Tatum and LeBron. No, I'm talking about on the team that played for our team. Well, I'm not talking about villains we played against. Those guys aren't villains. They're just competitors. I'm talking about villains, people that sold us out, that came to this team and acted like a pieces of shit. And Vince Carter, Nick Nurse, Goran Dragic, these are people that are on that list, just so you know, Nako. That's right. Monique saying the only reason I would go to the jersey retirement is just to hear all the boos. He's getting seriously, then go in the hallway. Yeah, Mo, I don't discount you. You go and do your regular schedule. of basketball games this year, as you should. You're the super fan, and you need to be down there. In some ways, you need to be down there to help the team because your vibes are strong. And honestly, let's forget about the side icing of the cake with this bullshit with Vince and the 30th anniversary. We're real Raptors fans, and we're concentrated on the team. We're concentrated on the guys who still wear the Raptors jersey, and they're going to be competing for us to try and get wins. And in some ways, they need you down there. It's like I don't go down there. It's partly because I moved the hell out of town and I'm far away from the arena. And it's a lot of effort for me to get down there at this point. I used to live very close to the arena, and it was very easy for me to get over to it really quickly. But with the way things are going so far this season, not even started, with this retirement and everything that's going on, it's turning me off. And in some ways, I'll watch the games and cover them still on this channel, but I don't know how much I'm going to actually be down in the arena in person this year. Yeah, we'll have to see. Sue's saying, to be honest, Masai didn't seem really into it when he gave his speech to VC. So I agree with you, Lex. Masai seemed like he had to make an excuse about VC's past. I don't think Masai was feeling this. No, I don't think so either. We know Ujiri is a winner. Ujiri is someone who is a culture setter. He has a certain prestige. He has a certain thing that he carries with him, around him, and it's an aura, and it permeates our culture of our team. And in some ways, this is not in line with that. This is not in line with that. And that's what I'm saying. In some ways, I would say Larry Tenenbaum and Masai Ujiri probably were against doing this. And now Ed Rogers is forcing it. So it is what it is. Oh, I love to see this. Wayne Strainer's in the chat today. Sergeant Wayne Strainer's returned to the chat. And I want to hear what Wayne has to say about this. Because in some ways, our Sergeant at Arms, Wayne Strainer, is the tough guy. He's the guy who's like really mad at Nat Bhatia for bringing DR to the game, that play-in game. He's the guy who's been very much compete. Let's not be soft. So I want to hear what he has to say. He's saying, Nako, this is a family feud. Vince put us on the basketball map, but he dishonored his work. Other players who played with him said he took his talent for granted and could have worked harder. They know. Yeah, this is what Gilbert's saying. Gilbert Arenas is saying that Vince could have been way better and he didn't work as hard as he could have. And I don't know if it's because he came to the Raptors. In some ways, he did change his work ethic when he got to the Nets. He really did. And you can tell by the way he was playing more all out in certain ways with the Nets. It's not just the shaving of his points and the ballooning of them. There is effort that you can see with your eyeballs between his Raptors career and his Nets career. And if you watch a sample of both in different places, even when he was doing really good, there's a certain level of effort and aggressiveness that he played with on the Nets that was absent on the Raptors for a lot of times. Early on, yeah, he was super athletic and super aggressive. And that's part of how he built his name. But there, somewhere not that many years into his Raptors career, it fell off. It fell off. And there's a noticeable, you can see it. You can see it. Nako saying Cade deserves better than Detroit. Respect for him not leaving. This is so early. Nako, why are you so worried about Cade Cunningham? You brought him up a couple times about this. Listen, I'm not worried about Cade Cunningham. Cade Cunningham's path and what he's going to do is what he's going to do. He had the unfortunate thing of getting drafted by Detroit. And in some ways, he's going to make money and he'll play in the NBA. That's his dream. It's not that every NBA player is going to get to play for a championship team. Not every NBA player is going to get to play for a good franchise. That's just the way it fucking is. There's limited spots in the league in the first place. And getting a cherry good spot in the league is so hard in some ways. You may be lucky. So in some ways, you got to make the best of whatever situation you're in the NBA because nothing's granted. Just because some guys are super talented and they can do whatever the fuck they want, like demand trades and get around everywhere like James Harden, doesn't mean most NBA players in the league should act like him. Because honestly, most of them should be just very privileged and happy to be in the fucking league, making millions of dollars, playing the sport that they love. So yeah, let's not worry about Cade Cunningham, and he deserves better. He got in the NBA. He got what he deserved. And don't worry about this, Nako. It's silly. He's still on his rookie contract, for Pete's sake. Talk to me about Cade Cunningham when he's 8 years in with the Detroit Pistons on his second contract or third contract. How about that, Nako? Yeah, nobody feels sorry for him. Let's see. Fiercely saying, good morning, fam, and happy Sunday. Good morning to you, MJ. Always happy to see Eye Candy in the chat. That's right. Cowboy saying, VC, you put us on the map, but Toronto, we put you on the map also. Check yourself, VC. This is the same thing I would say to Kawhi people. Kawhi needed us just as much as we needed him to win that championship in 2019. And Vince, don't get it twisted. In some ways, the newness and awesomeness of the Raptors franchise with the purple jerseys, that added to the motif of who you were. In some ways, yeah, the novelness and the originality and stuff, it doesn't happen exactly the same way or hits the same way on other rosters. I'm telling you, if you team, it's just like you're in the line of the next Celtic or the next Laker or the next Miami Heat player that was already kind of doing stuff before you showed up. And in some ways, you came and yeah, you put us on the map, so you're an original with us. And in some ways, you didn't like respect that or take care of it. You did not take care of the egg that you had as your legacy as a Toronto Raptor. You let it crack and break and ruin and it fall all over the ground. Meanwhile, DeMar DeRozan, he's getting all jostled with his egg. And, oh, you're getting traded to San Antonio. Oh, and he's holding that egg for his life to keep it protected, to keep his legacy with Toronto and the fans and the Raptors intact. And meanwhile, you fucking crushed it yourself. You took it and went and threw it on the ground. Yeah, there's differences in how you can handle yourself as a person in the NBA. And the Raptors' history of the franchise can show different telltale tales of it. You know, Damon Stoudemire has an interesting story. In some ways, he forced himself out too, but it wasn't as big and a horrible thing, and things were okay. But still, he showed regret over that. But in some ways, he showed regret and apologized in some ways that make it better. You know, Tracy McGrady, I've used him as another example. He was young. He didn't understand that he could stay on the team with his cousin and become a super team at some point because super teams didn't exist in the NBA at that time. It was all a one superstar model. And in some ways, if there's one big supernova like your cousin Vince Carter on the team, where are you going to shine? Well, that's the thing. He was hook, line, and sinker on that. In some ways, he wishes he hadn't bought that narrative because he saw what happened with the Boston Celtics, Kevin Garnett, Ray Allen, and Paul Pierce in the years to come. That he's like, oh, we could have been the first super team if we had just let T-Mac stay in Toronto. And you know what? T-Mac's come out and said, I regret leaving Toronto. And I think Toronto is awesome. He's come clean. I have no problem with Tracy McGrady. You can go talk to your cousin Vince and find out how do you amend things and make things right. But you know what it is? Vince is a scared little child. He's somebody who's very sensitive. He said you don't care. It's like, yeah, I don't care if you people don't hate me or don't like me or you hate me. He's lying. He's lying. There's poker tells every single time he says that. He is hurt. And that's why he was crying on Friday about the whole thing, because he thinks he's getting healing from this. He heard all the boos. He saw how we shat on him every single time he came back to Toronto after he left and went to New Jersey. He's heard that. He's built up a lot of animosity towards Toronto Raptors fans to this day because every single time he came back to our arena, we booed the hell out of him. And in some ways, we became ops with him. So why the fuck are we retiring his number if he considers us ops and we consider him an op? Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. It's like, okay, let's go ahead and honor the biggest villain in our franchise history. Seriously. Does that make any sense? And we have no respect for ourselves. In some ways, we're a laughingstock. In some ways, Raptors fans right now are realizing this is a horrible decision to do this because they see how Vince is acting still in his interviews and how he hasn't come clean. He has no apologies for us, and he doesn't think he did anything wrong. And honestly, deep down inside, he thinks we're ops. He doesn't like Canadians. He doesn't like Toronto. He doesn't like Raptors fans. He really doesn't. You guys, you got to know this. This is the damn truth. And honestly, you know what he's going to do going forward from this? Now he's going to have his jersey retired by us and the Nets, and he's going to continue to work for ESPN. And in some ways, he's going to keep normalizing us being a substandard team in the NBA on the broadcast for ESPN in the U.S. He is part of the problem with the U.S. media putting down the Raptors and not giving us a fair shot or looking at us as second-class team in the NBA. And he purports that and continues it to this day. And this is why I have no respect for him. Other than, you know, he did what he did in the beginning. But listen, he shat on us, he quit on us, and then ever since then, he's been a villain towards us on the other teams. And then when he's done broadcasting, he's talked us down and talked like we're a second-class team. In fact, he said shit on Friday at his own ceremony that really delineated that he still thinks that we are a second-class team in this league. And I don't understand this. Can we have more self-respect, MLSE, Toronto Raptors, Masai Ujiri, and everybody? Why do we have to do this? Seriously, why do we have to do this? In some ways, I would say, Raptors fans, let's do like what Boston, Red Sox, other teams have done. Disregard the things that official team have done and say this is not official to the fans. And we reject this. And in some ways, if we reject Vince as a fan nation, even though he's getting this honor, that is so powerful still. That is so powerful. So we still have some power in this. Ed Rodgers can come in and strong arm and say, you guys got to retire Vince's jersey right away. Well, we as fans can be like, we reject this and we don't honor this and we do not accept this. And that's what I'm going to say. In my eyes, to this day and going forward, and y'all can join me on this, when we retire number 7, that's officially the first number retired for the Raptors. When Kyle Lowry's jersey goes up next to that championship banner for 2019. Because I'll tell you right now, in the mind of Vince Carter, he doesn't ever see the Raptors ever winning a championship ever again, and he is very happy about that. Meanwhile, we got Magic Johnson for the Lakers nation. Hall of Fame, jersey retired. He is planning and plotting and living and breathing how to get the Lakers their next championship every single second. What do you think Vince is trying to help us get another championship? No, he's not. In fact, he's probably obstructing us and trying to put roadblocks in front of us to get a next championship. Coming over to Grady Dick after ceremony on Friday. Hey, Grady, you're a great shooter. You're going to be fantastic. You know, being in Toronto too long, it could hurt your career. You probably need to start thinking about greener pastures on one of the American NBA teams. I'll bet you he could say that shit to our guys. That's why I don't want him anywhere the fuck near any of our young players as a mentor, as an alumni mentor. Fuck, Vince. Just get the fuck out of Canada. Go back to the States, do your job, and stay the fuck away from our young Raptors. That's what I'm going to say right now. It's like, look, what kind of advice are you going to give them? Seriously, talking about opportunities in the NBA and other teams. Yeah, what kind of advice are you going to give them? Seriously. All right, I'm going to keep going in the chat, guys. I love seeing so many people here this morning. Thank you for joining the Raptor Free chat every single morning, 9:30 a.m. usually. Tomorrow we'll be on in the afternoon after Media Day, doing immediate initial reactions to the Media Day interviews. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Jimmy's saying, I don't care. VC will always be a punk. There you go. Popa Positivity, you are on point right there. Yeah, Nako saying, Wayne, I'm more asking how good or bad of a job that Dr. J would do. As a newer fan, my emotions just aren't that strong on the VC drama. Feel how you want to about it. 7 should have been first. There you go. See, now, Gerald, I know he's a newer fan. Gerald's a very close friend of mine that I've known for about 10 years. And we know each other from another world. And Gerald just became a Raptors fan really big in recent years. So he doesn't totally understand how it felt and what happened with the Raptors when Vince did what he did. And all we can do is educate fans like Gerald so that you can understand. You didn't feel it, Gerald, though. So in some ways, I get it why you can't feel the anger that I feel right now and I'm expressing on this chat. In some ways, I get it. Newer fans just weren't there in 2005. They just don't know. And in some ways, I don't know how to teach you exactly what. We can go and find the clips of him talking to the NBA after he got traded to the Nets and talking about, yeah, you know, I didn't try to dunk. I didn't try to jump while I was playing for the Raptors at the end. You know, we can tell you they're not going to show you the bad stuff at this point, Gerald. They're going to hide it all because in some ways they don't want people to remember it. But we all remember it. And we remember it so well that every single time Vince came to our arena, pretty much up until he retired, he got boozed. And you know what? That action needs to continue. Everybody who's been going to the games over the last 20 and the years after. We've got to also remember the heyday of Vince on the Raptors was only like a 5-year period. It was very, very short. And the heyday of hating him and him being a villain is like 17 years or so. So it's like there's way more time where Raptors Nation hates Vince than we actually really like loved him. He is absolutely number one villain on our list. And we are honoring him this year with retiring his jersey. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Jimmy saying kind of sets a bad precedent for jersey retirement. Yeah, just give the ultimate honor to someone who's completely bailed on us. I know. That's what I'm saying. That's why the title of my stream today is we are not respecting ourselves as a franchise by doing this with Vince Carter. In fact, this is bringing back bad memories for me. You know, being a Raptors fan from 95, from the very beginning, we were a joke in some ways. Yeah, we were an expansion team. We're supposed to lose. And in some ways, some people didn't really want the Canadian teams to be successful or do well. And some people were very happy when Vancouver lost their team and it went to Memphis. Some people were hoping that it was going to happen to us. In fact, in this interview I just watched with Vince recently, from back then, he's saying, yeah, Vancouver left and then we were the only Canadian team. It's almost like Vince came in as a undercover agent, and he's like, I'll build them up, and then I'll destroy them, and then maybe Canada will lose all their NBA teams within a short period of time. Nah, we survived you, Vince. We got through your bullshit and your quitting. We survived and we thrived and we got a championship. And even the way you said when you reacted on Friday, talking about how you were so like the moment when we won the championship, you didn't say you were proud. You didn't say anything like, "Oh, I was so happy to be a Raptors alumni and see the Raptors win." No, you said that was a really special moment, a really special. I forget what you said exactly, but it was very like detached. In some ways, we got to understand he's not with us. As Kendrick Lamar says, "You're not like us." Well, he's not like us. He's not with us. He's never been with us. And as Kareem said yesterday, the thing that's going to tell a lot for us is how he handles his ceremony here. And then let's watch how he handles his ceremony in January in Brooklyn, because that will be a really big telltale sign about exactly what I'm talking about, that he has no respect for the Raptors on the down low. And in some ways, we're giving him the biggest respect ever in the history of our franchise. That is disgusting, man. That is disgusting. Wayne saying ditto that. That's right. Alley-oop to Jimmy. That's right. Jimmy's coming back, so I'm going to give him a 10-pointer. It's been so long since we sent Jimmy in a bit. So he's getting the Morris Peterson 24. There you go, Jimmy Pope. 24 for you. Charles Oakley loves Toronto. That's right, Smooth. Good to see Smooth in the chat. Ahmad Rashad, classic card of the day, a master. That's right. Oakley is such a goat, isn't he? He's like, yeah, I know y'all are trying to capitalize off me, and I'm not allowing you, James Dolan. In fact, you just kicked me out and banned me from the arena, and now you're going to try and retire my jersey with the Knicks. That's hilarious. Charles Oakley, you're a real one, and you're the one of the heroes of the Raptors history, because in some ways, this guy is so awesome. He's allowed enough room to be an icon in New York Knicks land and still beloved Raptors alumni also. And that just goes to show that somebody understands legacy, Vince Carter. That Charles Oakley is a very good legacy with all the teams he played for, because he's that kind of guy. And that's what I'm saying right there. Mark S. is here. Good to see Mark back in the chat again. The moment VC got traded to the Nets, he's going to the rack and dunking. I know. And aggressively and angrily. And not only that, once again, I'll say he eliminated us from the playoffs himself after that. It's almost like, yeah, your best player, the guy that everybody's talking about in the league, the most popular player in the world, you're so happy he's on your team. See, that's the other part of it, is that we got felt to be very special because of Vince's aura around our team. And when he took and shook it away from us, not only did he leave, take all that excellence and things like they were saying, the attention, he came and he killed us later. And he gleefully did it. He gleefully killed us later. And like, that's what I'm saying. That's where I knew he was an op. That's when I knew he was exactly an op, because he came back with revenge on his minds, and he heard the boos from us. Oh, what do you expect us to do, Vince? You fucking shat all our team and said you quit. What, you expect us to applaud for you? Oh, Vince, you're awesome. You did those dunks in Oakland. Yay. No, we're going to boo you. I think any person would boo you in that process. But no, he took it the fire, and then he was like, he got even more aggressive, and then he started trying. It's like he was feeding off of the boos, and then all of a sudden he was playing like a crazy man and killing us. Yeah, it's crazy. Smooth saying VC went from averaging 12 points per game his last 20 with the Raptors to 27 with the Nets. He flipped the switch. That's right. And Jimmy's dapping up that as far as saying, yeah, look at that comment right there. All right, let me see. I love all the comments, guys. It's really, really good to see so many people chiming in, and I appreciate it. If you're new to the chat, go ahead and chime in and join us. Seriously. Raptor Freak family, always looking for new, great, honored Raptors fans that really do get it. Really, really do get it here. I'm serious. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Where is the chat? I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Mark's saying, yep, nothing but jump shots the last few games. Yeah. I mean, I looked at his stats really closely, Mark, like a month ago from that year. And the 20 games that he played for the Raptors under Sam Mitchell, all of his stat numbers were down exactly right across the board. And then you go and look at what he did with the Nets, like very much right away, they all doubled almost, some of them. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Cowboys saying, yep. And most saying, Lex, did you see how much interviews Alvin Williams had to go through all because of the bum? Mo, you're awesome. I'm going to give you a dunk. I did not see all the Alvin Williams interviews, but you know what? Alvin's awesome. He is, in some ways, he's a saint in the middle of all this, and we can't get mad at him. I'm going to give a 5-pointer to Mo. You're at 180 for the dunks, Monique. But yeah, I mean, Alvin's awesome. We love Boogie, and that's not ever going to change. And in some ways, look, some people say he doesn't deserve to have his jersey retired for the Raptors. In some ways, I would make an argument that Alvin Williams deserves to have his jersey retired more than Vince Carter does. So, I mean, let's say Cowboys saying, I'd rather retire Prince Shamshay's jersey first if VC doesn't come correct. Let's go, New Era Raptors. Yeah, that's a long time from now. I mean, when is Shamshay going to finish playing Cowboy? He's only 18 right now. This guy could be playing another 20 years. So it could be like 25 years from now before Shamshay gets his jersey retired by the Raptors. So, yeah, and hopefully that happens. I would love a future where Aldrich Shamshay is a retired Raptors jersey because of a very illustrious, great career. So I would love that. I think Kyle's got to come first. Brian's saying, "What's up, Freak Nation?" At Cowboy, I second that notion, and I would buy that jersey. There you go, Brian from To The Point. It's another YouTube channel that covers the Raptors. Y'all check out T.O. The Point. King Brian's there with his guest, Coach Roach, and the crew. So y'all check out Brian's channel. It's awesome. Stargate's here. Good to see Stargate in the house. Isaac's saying, without Nash, two-time MVP in Canada, immediately after VC bailed, we would have never recovered. Nash deserves equal respect for basketball in Canada. Nobody's saying shit about him in Hockey Town. I mean, I don't know. That's a little bit of a loose connection, Isaac. I don't know if I can get totally behind this and say that Steve Nash saved basketball in Canada. I mean, I'm sure he encouraged young people to come and play as a Canadian, and seeing him get those MVPs, sure. But let's not get it twisted. The flashiness of Vince Carter's dunk competition really got a lot of attention, a lot of eyes globally. And in some ways, Vince Carter was the most popular athlete on earth when he played for the Raptors. He wasn't ever after that, ever again. Think about that also. In some ways, this is a sad thing. Maybe Vince, he talks about opportunities on Friday and looking for them and going for them. Well, you fucked up your career after you left the Raptors. Sure, you got to the finals with the Nets. You had some playoff success with the Nets, but that was really it after that. And in some ways, the peak of your career was in a purple Raptors jersey, Vince Carter. And everything was downhill after that. How sad is that? That you have your peak in your first 5 years of your career and you still hang around for like another 17 years and you're just winding down and getting worse and worse and worse and more irrelevant. You know, seriously, I would say right now, our GROAT, Mr. DeMar DeRozan, has gotten better and better every single year he's played in the NBA. And meanwhile, Vince, you just dwindled down like a guy who just won't go away and just worse and worse every year. Yeah, it's pathetic. You had your best part of your career as a Raptor, Vince. And that's part of the reason why you want to go into the Hall of Fame as a Raptor, which doesn't mean jack shit, by the way, y'all. It's not like they put the Raptors jersey on his plaque at Naismith Hall, the Basketball Hall of Fame. No. He just gets his face on there. But he's saying symbolically, I'm going in as a Raptor. That doesn't mean jack shit. It's not Cooperstown, where he wears a baseball hat that has the symbol of the Expos, Andre Dawson. No. That's not what this is. Vince Carter can say he's going in as a Raptor, and he officially has declared it, but there's not going to be any signifier on his plaque at the Basketball Hall of Fame that will connect him to the Raptors, other than they'll talk about the Raptors in his text. But there won't be anything on his face or his head or his jersey that shows the Raptors. So that's something that we need to put out there right now. Yeah, Stargate saying that negative attitude mentality about the Raptors is not only restricted to fans down south, it's perpetuated by the league itself, but also hockey folks right here in Canada. And sadly, also by our own fans. You know, a lot of the people that are not with me on this, a lot of the people that are very for this Raptors thing, think that we are the ones that are the anti-Raptor fans, the ones that aren't true fans of the team, because we are not kissing Vince's ass right now. That's the craziest thing. Like, there's a whole slew of Raptors fans that are just like, yeah, Raptors, Vince is the best. We just need to love him. And they're part of the problem too. In some ways, these are fans that aren't team first fans. These are fans that are player first fans, or they're NBA fans in general that live in Toronto. They may be fans that are like, I like the Lakers, but the Raptors aren't very good this year, so I'm going with the Lakers. You know, these are turncoat fans. These are fans that are big Steph Curry fans. And, well, they were Steph Curry fans for all the Warriors dynasty, but then when the Raptors beat them, all of a sudden they were magically Raptors fans. These are the fans I'm talking about, the casuals, the NBA general fans in the league that are in Toronto. And they are adding their voices in social media spaces too. You know, you can tell when you look at comments on social media, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on Instagram, Twitter, wherever. If you see somebody say y'all, that's somebody who's not a Raptors fan, They're saying y'all are cowards for not retiring Vince Carter's jersey already. That's somebody from the outside telling us what to do. And I don't know how you live your life. Do you do everything other people tell you you have to do? No, no. You do it if you want to, but you don't have other people telling you what to do like that. So other fans from other nations that have got mad at Raptors Nation for being not like retiring Vince's jersey and not wanting to do it, y'all are gaslighting us because you know exactly how he left us and how he quit on us. And you coming around 20 years later and saying y'all are horrible for not retiring Vince's jersey sooner and all this kind of stuff. Fuck you, you fucks. You are not Raptors fans. You do not sit in our franchise. You are not the ones that we put the jerseys up for because y'all are NBA fans. You're outside. You're other teams fans. You could be Celtics fans. You could be Knicks fans. You could be Sixers fans, gaslighting us with this bullshit. So if Raptors fans want to get in on that train, yeah, we're horrible for not retiring Vince sooner. You're just a part of the problem too, is what I say about that. Yeah. There you go. Trevor's saying Vince Carter is dead to me. Cannot wait until we stop talking about him. Never won a championship. They should retire. They should retire his jersey at the water and sewage plant. Damn, Trevor! Holy cow, that was awesome. I'm gonna give you a 10-pointer, Commissioner J. That was awesome, man. I love that. You're at 128, man. That's a 10 right there. That is a 10. They should retire his jersey at the water and sewage plant. Wow. Cowboys saying, can't wait to get my Prince Shamshay jersey, Brian. There you go. Isaac saying, I hope Lowry all the success, but if he gets injured in the next few weeks and hangs up his shoes, they will better cancel this shit. It's too soon. I mean, we got to think about this. This is November the 2nd. It's a month and like 3 days from now when we're going to retire Vince's jersey. It's going to be, that's your last chance, Vince, to come clean and fix things with fans like us. If you can say something, just be a little humble. Just admit that you quit on us and it was wrong. That's all you have to say. You say, I quit on you guys. I feel so horrible in some ways about it. And it was wrong for me to do that. I mean, once again, I'll get into this. A journalist has a Hippocratic, has an oath to protect their sources. If they have news sources, the journalist's not supposed to tell their sources. A doctor is supposed to have a Hippocratic oath. And what they do as a doctor, they're supposed to help people. And as a basketball player, you get paid millions of dollars to play in the NBA. You should have like a certain kind of standard of oath that you're always trying to give your best effort out there. And in some ways, Vince Carter broke professional standards. And in some ways, other NBA players and other people around, if he wasn't such a great dunker, if he was just some guy who quit on his team, they wouldn't have respect for him because this is a cardinal sin. This is something that NBA players are not supposed to do. You're supposed to play all out. You get the opportunity and the privilege to play in the NBA and you're half-assing your life. There's some guy sitting at home on a couch that had NBA dreams who didn't get it. And then he sees you fucking throwing it away or treating it half-assed. Yeah, some people don't respect that. And in some ways, I don't respect them for that reason right there. Some people can say the beautiful dunks and the crazy exhibition stuff that's not even in a game, doesn't count to winning. It's just a beautiful show. It's amazing acrobatic artistry, athleticism. Sure, that's something. But in some ways, the meat and potatoes of the game that happens in the 94 feet of an NBA court, that matters to me more. And him breaking the cardinal sin of being a quitter and not trying hard enough and admitting it publicly afterwards, that's disgusting to me. That's like a doctor breaking his Hippocratical oath. That's like a journalist telling his sources and putting people in danger. There's certain kind of integrity that each profession has. And Vince Carter broke the integrity of the NBA by doing what he did. And in some ways, he belittled the Raptors franchise by saying this team doesn't matter enough. I've been the most important person, the sun that everything revolves around on this team. And I'm crapping all over it. And I'm showing everybody that this team doesn't deserve to have a player like me on it. This team doesn't deserve the respect of me showing up, getting paid millions of dollars to play wholeheartedly in front of the children that look up to me. I mean, what is this role model we're celebrating here? A guy who said, if you don't like what's going on with you in your life, quit. Just quit in the middle of it and act like a shit. And you'll get what you want because you quit on them. That's what I'm saying. He has more in common with Kawhi Leonard than Kyle Lowry or DeMar DeRozan. Vince Carter is one must say right there. Yeah. Brian's saying, all right, I see that. He's going to be wearing his Prince Vikings jersey while watching the game today. That's right. It's NFL Sunday, and Brian's for the Vikings, guys. Sue saying, love you too, Lex. Oh, Sue, you're so sweet. and I miss you, and I hope you're doing really, really great. Andrew saying, morning, everyone. Kyle Lowry, 7 days until Raptors basketball. There you go. There's Justin Bieber. There's the Raptor. There's the flag. There's the Maple Leaf. Boss Take Charge, Quantum Solutions for Longevity. Good to see you back in the chat, my friend. The number could always be used with permission. Yeah. I mean, at some point, sports is going to go on forever. Well, where are the numbers going to go if we retire stuff over and over again? And where do we get the criteria of quality? It's a big topic around the NBA because a lot of players have had their numbers retired and they really kind of were like bench players, or they were players. Like, I love Vinny the Microwave Johnson. He's an amazing bad boy from the Bad Boy Pistons, the 2 championships they won in 89 and 90. And he was absolutely a fantastic player, but did he deserve to get his jersey retired by the Pistons? I don't know. I mean, I'm okay with it personally because I was a big fan of his, but a lot of people say this is the sixth man. This is not the focal point. And at what point do we run out of numbers to give to new players because we retired so many numbers? Like, over the history of time, like, what are we going to be talking about in 100 years from now? Oh, sorry, you have to be the number 67 because all of our numbers are gone. I mean, seriously, this is not sustainable. And in some ways, the jersey retirement numbers has been a problem for a lot of storied franchise already, like the Celtics, like the Yankees, people like that. That's right. There you go. There you go. Cowboys saying, Andrew, here we come, NBA. You know what, guys? I have a feeling something's going to change with me in the next couple of years. A big shift is going to change. You know, this is the Raptors Freak channel. But I'm going to start covering that WNBA team as I do the Raptors team. I'm very excited about the WNBA coming to Toronto, and I'm going to get wholeheartedly behind it, just like I did for the Raptors in 1995. In some ways, the fact that the WNBA team is going to be owned by Larry and Kilmer Group is going to be very attractive to me. In some ways, it's going to be a new place. It's a new place for competing and possibilities for good things to happen for a Toronto sports franchise in the WNBA. I may be shifting more and more to being way more excited and into the WNBA than the NBA in the next couple of years. Seriously, I'm not lying. Caitlin Clark has done something this season to make the WNBA amazing. And in some ways, I might be like, you know what? I'm sick of this Ed Rogers bullshit with the Raptors and MLSE. In some ways, I may be like, yeah, WNBA, woo, let's go. Whatever the team name is going to be. Yeah, I'm excited. And in some ways, that may be the saving grace for me and my sanity, is that if the Raptors aren't going to get a fair shake, if they're going to be shat on and not ever have a chance again in this league because of the forces that be, well, I'm going to be shifting and be like, let's get fully behind that WNBA team and let's go for championships there. We'll have to see how this goes. It's going to be really sad if we see Masai Ujiri go off in the sunset in the next 3 years, and the Raptors are going to be going into a decline in a sad period of time where things aren't going right for us. It's going to be very, very sad. But Teresa Resh's team could be that bright spot that keeps us going and have us having a really lot of enthusiasm for the sport in the WNBA. So who knows? This transition, I'm kind of feeling it, or in some ways, because of some of the recent turn of events with the new ownership of the of Rogers owning the Raptors in MLSE at this point. Yeah. We'll have to see. Let's see. Anselm's back. Holy crap. This is a longtime Raptors fan, Raptors freak. Anselm Joseph, I have not seen him in a while. He said, I didn't know the politics behind the honoring of BC. Yeah, it's crazy. There is a lot there. And the politics is very much a split fan base. There's a fan base that's really buying into it. I wouldn't even totally trust half the comments that are celebrating Vince. I would say some of them may be Musk bots on Twitter. Some people may be just going in and trying to pump up Vince in some ways. Some of the comments are asinine and stupid, first of all. Some of them are saying stuff like, he won so many championships for us. I'm like, dude, you don't know your Raptors, obviously. There's a lot of unintelligent basketball fans and Raptors fans that are casuals. They're chiming in on the Vince thing just because they remember Vince. But these aren't really people that really watch the basketball closely. They're not like us. They're not people that are really in depth or understand the whole history of the Raptors. They're just casuals who are like, oh, yeah, Vince was fun. I remember when he did those dunks. It was amazing. They're chiming in and they're making their voices heard when they're casuals. And in some ways, they don't know all the facts. And I'm not saying that Anselm is, because I know he is a very much a Raptors freak, and he's been around this channel from time to time, different places. So, but yeah, there's a lot behind the scenes about this, and this is super controversial. This is super divisive. And there are very much two sides to this. Yeah, there very much are. In some ways, I want to make sure that our side of things is heard and put out there. And I appreciate Josh Lewinberg and people in the mainstream media putting this part out, because seriously, it's important. Some people want to say this is a divide or something. This is a healthy debate. And in some ways, it's nobody's getting hurt over it. But in some ways, it is a very much a debate, and it is not a 100%. Everybody's into this. No, 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 no. There's a lot of people, and I applaud all the people that are in comment sections on social media that are voicing their disdain for this decision, and they're very much pointing out all the warts and the ugliness of Vince and his career with the Raptors, and that is important to get out there. And I applaud everybody who's making the truth be known still. I really, really do. I really, really do. Andrew's got Darko on blast. I love it. There's Darko and Shamshay there. Boss Take saying the Raptors in 30 years history, VC has the only tangible place in the city that the city can use. You know, it's crazy. Listen, it's sad. It is sad that our biggest guy that put us on the map is such a shitty person to our franchise. I really wish Vince had come around and like embraced us and treated us the way he's supposed to, but his exit killed this. In some ways, he described something. I watched an interview with him in NBA on TNT just after he got traded to the Nets, and he said, I was in trouble of destroying my career in Toronto. What? You did destroy your career in Toronto somehow, some way, because you quit. In some ways, that moniker is never going to go away. In some ways, people will always have to put that in the sentence with you. In some ways, when you go into the Naismith Hall of Fame, they should put that on your plaque. Quit on the Raptors to force a trade. I mean, seriously, that is part of your legacy. And that's why I was so like condescending and full of it when you were talking to the Raptors players about legacies. Because if you're really worried about a legacy, you never ever do what you did, Vince. You never ever do what you did. And then on top of that, it's like silent quitting, quiet quitting. That's one thing. But then to turn around, circle back, and show that you have such little respect for the team that had you on first as a rookie of the year, that you admitted that you weren't trying publicly. Well, that just shows and teaches an action to the NBA world and everybody else, the journalists, the fans of other teams, our own fans, that we have no self-respect, that you don't have to respect the Raptors franchise. You really, really don't. Because here's the guy who put them on the map, and he's admitting to the press that he didn't try for that team on purpose. That's horrible. That is horrible right there. That is horrible. Look at all those Shamshays. Man, chill out, y'all. Mike is here. People are fine to have their opinions, but assuming his intentions and opinions isn't right, in my opinion. The decision to retire his jersey has been talked about for years. Superstars usually get their numbers retired. I know Mike is on the other side, and he has been a voice that's kind of not totally agreeing with us. It's fine, Mike. And I'm glad you're here to speak from that other side. But listen, bullshit, Mike. You can see how it is, and I know it. I've paid very close attention to Vince since he left the Raptors. Whether it's when we play him, whether I see him doing a broadcast on ESPN as a commentator, and he is not our friend. Trust me. He has disrespect for the Raptors franchise. He has disrespect for the fans of Toronto. In fact, when he did his speech on Friday, he barely acknowledged Toronto fans because they're the ones who've caused him pain for 17 years now. He came into our arena every single time, and he heard the boos. He heard the boos. And in some ways, he's an asshole. He's somebody who is like, you're against me, well, I'm against you. And that's why I'm saying, Mike, he's not your friend. He's an op. He's been an op this whole time. And that's why it's really sad are doing this for one of our biggest ops in our whole entire career. It's just the damn truth, Mike. You can go ahead and be sunshine and rainbows and just remember the dunk competition and this and all the good things. But I'm putting a full picture out there. And seriously, yeah, I know his opinions. I can tell because once again, Mike, I study body language. I study what people say. I say, mean what you say and say what you mean. And he said what he meant on Friday. And if you watch him real closely, Mike, seriously, did you even watch the Dixon Court ceremony from Friday afternoon? You go watch him, and you watch him with a little more close and actually listen to what he's saying. He has no respect for our team. It's obvious. There's no respect for our franchise. Why are we respecting him so much? That's what I say right there. All right, y'all with the faces, I'm going to just skip over. That's funny. Isaac saying Carter showed Clutch Sports how it's done. All right, Isaac, you got me to laugh, so I'm going to go ahead and give you a dunk because honestly, that's kind of funny. Yeah, that sucks in some ways. I don't like your comment, but also it's funny. It made me laugh. So yeah, let's see. We'll give you a 3-pointer. 134 for Isaac Campbell. Let's see. Mike saying VC had his issues on the court and off the court. He says he regrets his actions at the end and has grown from it. He wants to come back to the fam. He understands now team comes first. You build a legacy. Yeah, Mike, but we don't want him to come back to the fam. Did you once again, I'll say, Mike, you got to watch that ceremony. One of the things he did, he addressed the Raptors, all our young draft picks, the 5 guys coming in: Carlson, Shamshay, Mobo, Shed, Walter, Grady Dick, Bruno Fernando, Kelly Olynyk, RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly. They're all sitting there. And Vince says to them, I want to be a mentor for you guys. If you ever need me, reach out. I'm there for you. Like, if you want more opportunities like other teams. He literally said that to our players at that ceremony, Mike. Is that healthy for our team? That we got a guy who should set the standard for shitting all over us and turning his back on us. And now he's coming around to our current players and saying, hey, if you want to be like me, I can help you get out of Toronto. Nah, Mike, you're wrong on this. And seriously, you got to open your eyes and stop being so stardust with the dunk competition and this side of things. Seriously, you need to really watch Friday. He could have gone all kinds of different directions with what he said, but he doubled down on being an op and also a very toxic person to be around the Raptors organization. If I was Masai, I'd say, Vince, that's okay. We don't need your help. You go ahead and go be a mentor to Nets and Magic and Hawks, and whoever else down south. We don't need your help. In some ways, I don't trust Vince Carter. He broke trust with us, Mike. And in some ways, why the fuck would I trust him to be a mentor to our current Raptors? Seriously. Why would you do that, Mike? Seriously, think about that. Andrew's saying this season is going to be tough. The Atlantic Division is stacked with the Knicks, the Sixers, and Celtics. We got to play them at least 4 times each. And our first 20 games are super hard. This is true. Now, last season, we got swept by the Knicks, the Celtics, and the Sixers. I hated that. We got to get at least one win against all 3 of those teams this year. One way or another, Scotty, you guys got to do this barbecue because I'm not having a sweep against those 3 Atlantic Division opponents again. In fact, our record in the Atlantic Division last year was abysmal, and I hated that. In some ways, the years of us dominating the Atlantic Division are very much over at this point right now. But we have to have some semblance of pride and at least get a win and not get swept by each of those teams this year. I don't give a shit if they're the Celtics and they are the champions. We need to beat their ass at least once this year. In some ways, the old coaching of Nick Nurse would have made sure we did that. In some ways, we need to beat Nick Nurse because Nick Nurse has a perfect record against us as a Sixers coach. And that's bullshit. We need to get some get back. We need to do it for Darko. Do it for Darko, Scotty, and the crew because Darko needs to get a win against old Nurse. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah. Slug Deezy saying, in my opinion, DeMar messed up his legacy in Toronto by being in the Kendrick Lamar video. But Slug Deezy, he's fixed this. You got to understand. And he said this on CBC Radio last week with Matt Galloway because he asked him about this. He said, what about this video with Kendrick Lamar, Not Like Us? And DeMar said this basically. He had no idea that the part of the ops thing with Canada and Drake and Kendrick, the whole reason why DeMar did this, and I was exactly right when I said this summer, is because he wants to unify the community of Compton with the gangs, with Bloods and Crips and all the gang activity there. And that his whole reason was unifying, not dividing, for why he did that. And Lamar's comment that he says we never deserved D Rose and is bullshit. That's Kendrick's words. That's not DeMar's words. If you ask DeMar to his face, did Toronto deserve you? You say, hell yeah, they did. And I deserve Toronto too, because it was a beautiful thing, a beautiful experience. And even though I was done wrong on the way out, I still love Toronto. I still am Mr. Toronto. You can go look at his basketball reference page. DeMar DeRozan's nickname says Mr. I am Toronto is still on there. And he's still holding it. And in some ways, this is the crazy thing. As much as Vince doesn't really have any ties to us emotionally, like Magic Johnson does to the Lakers, DeMar still does to us. And that's the crazy thing. We really did him wrong in some ways. But he went to San Antonio, he went to Chicago, and now he's going to Sacramento. And his feelings for those teams are business only. But Toronto is special. And he'll tell you this to your face, that was the first one. That's the special one. And Toronto's always going to be special to him. So don't get it twisted, Slug Deezy. DeMar DeRozan is one with us still to this day. And Kendrick Lamar may have his own opinions about whether we deserved him or not. But DeMar knows we deserved him, and he loves us. and he is very happy. In his book signing return to Toronto recently, the love was shown, and he espoused everything about why Toronto is so special to him, and his legacy is intact. So Slug, we got to keep up the date here, and you got to go see some of the new interviews with DeMar and understand. He even talks about it in his new book. He doesn't even diss us. He has all the chances in the world in his book, Above the Noise, which I've got up here, right here, signed copy. Thank you, David Saborin. That he says in this book, straight up, that the things with him in Toronto haven't changed. He still loves the city. He still is a big fan of the Raptors, and he still has he doesn't have hate towards us, and he has all the reasons to hate us. Seriously, he's not enough. He's not enough. He's still family, unlike Vince Carter, Mike. Unlike Vince Carter. Yeah, Cowboys saying, no worries, Andrew. And Smooth saying, Tracy McGrady has true regrets leaving Toronto. Talks about it all the time. Yeah, Tracy's a very intelligent guy. Tracy is way smarter than his cousin. He's way, way smarter than his cousin. His cousin's a himbo. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. Tracy McGrady is able to rationalize and intellectualize his career from when he was younger and understand when he was 19, he was on the Raptors. He was immature, and he did not understand exactly the implications of leaving Toronto at that time. And in some ways, he regrets leaving. And in some ways, he also says Toronto's awesome. He's never bashed us. He's never been on national television where I've heard him put us down. I've heard Vince do this. This is what I'm saying. And it has not been just once or twice. He continually does it. If he's calling any games in the NBA on ESPN, he puts us down if he gets the opportunity. Trust me, he does. So, yeah, Mike saying VC has been talking to Lowry for years and never told him to leave. Yeah, Mike, go watch the clip. You're going to argue with me, but did you even watch the Dixon Court ceremony? Go watch it. In some ways, watch how he acts on there. Mike, I want to see what your opinion is of VC after you watch the ceremony on Friday. If you have not watched the ceremony on Friday, you're not up to date, okay? So watch the ceremony on Friday. You can go there. Starscream's here. Good to see Starscream. This is another old face we haven't seen in the Raptor Freak chat in a long, long time. It's very good to see him. Alex, I didn't even think the Nets should have retired Vince's jersey. If anything, RJ and Kmart deserved it more. See, this is Nets Freak coming in here. Starscream is our friend from the Brooklyn Fan Nation who frequented us more in the past, but he's here to say hi to us. He doesn't think that he deserves the jersey retirement in Brooklyn. And I agree with him. He says Richard Jefferson and Kmart deserve it before him. Wow. See, that's what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. Is this a new symptom of the new NBA, the player movement? You never stay long enough in somewhere to establish roots, get high enough on franchise all-time marks to actually be somebody who should be considered to be Hall of Fame. You know, he doesn't even think Vince Carter should be retired for the Nets. Seriously. And I would agree with him in some ways. He wasn't there long enough. And what was his success there? And what is the bar you're setting to give this guy this? Is it because of the stuff he did as a Raptor that he gets it? Is it because of the Air Canada effect? Why would the Nets celebrate him and put him up the Raptors for stuff that happened up here, like the dunk contest or the Air Canada effect? He got to the finals once. They lost. And they, he had some flashy dunks. And in some ways, the Nets are doing this in some ways politically to strong arm us to retire him is part of it too. So, yeah, Starscream, fantastic to see you back here. We will always welcome our fans of other nations on the Raptor Freak channel. And it's really, really good to see Nets Nation in attendance today when we're talking about Vince right now. Starscream, I'm going to give you a big dunk for coming back and saying hi. Very, very happy to see you. All right, you're going to be getting a three-pointer. You're at the Scotty Barnes 4, my guy. There you go. Smooth saying all he has to do is apologize. No further explanations needed. I know. He's never apologized for this. Mike's trying to say he regrets how he did things. Bullshit. He was happy. You can watch the interviews after he left and got to New Jersey. He felt like he was freed. And in some ways, he, in his mind, Mike, thinks this way. If I hadn't done what I did, I wouldn't have gotten to the Nets and got to do things. So he doesn't regret what he did. Trust me. He doesn't regret what he did. Even though the little part that he does regret about it is all the hate he gets from us. That may be the only thing that he regrets about it. He doesn't regret that he did it. He would do it again. Trust me. He would do it again. That's right. Alley-oop to Smooth. Yeah, alley-oop to Smooth for sure. We'll do that. And since Smooth is here, David does not seem to be here. We're going to go ahead and do the classic card right now. 47 dunks for Smooth Brown Man. All right, let's get this card out. If you guys don't know how this works, watching the channel, I pull a classic basketball card out of this cosmic card box every single day. And whoever can identify the player gets some points to the Raptor Freak trivia score. And that trophy in the corner, the big one, has plaques on it, and your name gets on that at the end of the year if you have the most trivia points. So let's see, we're at 10:19 on the timestamp. I'll come back up to 10:19 to catch up on my chat. All right, let's see. Let's get a good one. Let's see if I get a good one. I'm pulling the first one. Oh, that one's easy, but we'll do it. All right, so be quick, guys. Full name. Do not write half the name. I want y'all to write the full name on there, and you can get the points for today. I'm not even going to show it that close. That may be too easy right there. You can see it from there. I think you know who that is because you can tell from the hair. Whoever writes it in first is going to get this point. Yeah, there you go. Omari's quick on the draw. Jared Allen is the right answer, of course. It's very shiny. That hairstyle is going to get this one every single time. But yeah, on my thing, Amari Parsons, I keep calling you Amari Moore because of our 905 guy. Amari Parsons is getting it first. Mike, you're after him, and you actually said Jared. Nako's third, and Slug Deezy's fourth. So yeah, the points are going to go to Amari, and I'm going to give you 100 points for this one. So let me just write it in since Mike's not here. I mean, not Mike. David's not here. Jarrett Allen. And it's Omari again. That's 2 days in a row, Omari. You're on it today. You're getting the classic card. And thank you for rejoining the Yahoo Fantasy League, Omari. Yeah, I saw you did that. All right, back up to 10:19, and we'll keep going in the chat. Really interesting stuff going on in Raptors land. We just got to keep going, guys. Good things are going to happen. I know it. Let's see. Andrew's saying it feels like Vince is playing a character sometimes. He has a really hard time. I think that it's weird because I understand in some ways he's kind of just a scared kid. In some ways, he's just a very sensitive person. He's going to act like he doesn't care. Like on Friday, he said, I know some of you guys don't like me, and that's okay. That's fine. That's fine. No, when he says that, it's a tell that that does bug the shit out of him. He wants to be universally loved. And in some ways, the fact that people like us, the diehard Raptors fans, do not universally love him, it hurts him. And in some ways, that's just a counter action. It's an action to a reaction of how you hurt Raptors Nation. Well, in some ways, you can get that effect back because that's the energy you put out in the world. That's it right there, Vince. It's the secret right there. The energy you put out in the world is the energy you get back. And the disrespect and the way you left, well, this is the energy you're getting back. 20 years later, it's still there. Yeah, we're still around. The Raptors fans that were there at that time are still around at this point. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah. Blank Man's here. All right, let's see. Blank Man is saying, Raptors freak, respectfully, you said it yourself. Steve Francis and Mourning refused to come to Canada. Shouldn't you give Vince love for not refusing to come and put an expansion Raptors on the map? I mean, all right, I want to be very fair to this question. I appreciate you being here, Blank Man. Yeah, I mean, there's different levels to this. In some ways, listen, this is the way I always put it. It's like Vince brought us up to a new height, and we got a little used to it. We liked being on the NBA on NBC. We liked getting worldwide attention. We liked getting national televised games. We liked having the most popular player in the NBA on our team. But in some ways, he took it all away. So in some ways, that's the problem. Alonzo and Steve Francis never showed up to their teams respectively, whether it's the Grizzlies for Francis or Alonzo in the trade with Vince Carter. So there was no like acclamation or used to them and what they were bringing to the team. In some ways, Alonzo just said, I'm not coming. Well, fuck you, Alonzo. Yeah, whatever. In some ways, that's not as damaging because in some ways, Vince built us up and then he dropped us down and he even put us in a lower place than when he came to. Our team was better when he came to the team. And some people have the philosophy, whatever you do, whatever you have, whatever you're interacting with, leave it in a better place than when you started with it. And that's the big fault right there. You go to a camp ground, leave it in a better state than when you came in. There's garbage in there. When you come in, clean it up. And when you leave, nothing there. That's what you got to think about, Blank Man. How did he leave us? It's not about where we were. When we came in, we were at a certain place. We were actually on our way coming up. And well, when he left us in a really bad place. So that's what I would say to that. And those guys never took us anywhere because they didn't even show up. Cowboys saying poor Masai knows that ain't right, but still being a gentleman about it. He's in a tough spot. This next year or so could be very, very difficult for Bobby Webster and Masai Ujiri running this team these next couple years. In some ways, I'm sad because I know the Ujiri era is going to probably end. in the next few years. And that sucks. That sucks so bad. And in some ways, I really do worry about the future for the Raptors franchise. Are we going to be destined to be like post Vince Carter Raptors for a while after this? Are we going to have a carousel of GMs because they don't know what they're fucking doing? Part of the reason why things went south with Vince was the carousel of coaches and GMs that he had to deal with in his early career. I will admit that. And that's why I tell Raptors fans all the fucking time, protect Ujiri and Webster as much as possible. Don't want to fire Darko after 1 year of him just starting. In some ways, a coach's carousel and being so quick to change things all the time is not healthy for a franchise. And you need to get the right people in the right place and give them a real chance to get things going. And when you switch things around too much, it's chaotic and it causes a little bit of what happened with Vince. So that's why I got to tell people we don't want to coach his carousel. Darko's our decision, and we're going forward with him until it absolutely is apparent we need to change the coach. But I don't see that anywhere near right now. But some people look at our record last year and say, yeah, we need to fire the coach already. Motherfucker, he just showed up. He just showed up. You can't say that. That's what I'm saying right there. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Nako's saying I'd retire 7, 43, 10 in that order. Well, no, I wouldn't do it in that order. Nako, you gotta, man, once again, you're showing that you're a newer fan. If you didn't watch the DeMar years, you gotta understand. It's really, really important. I get it. Maybe the championship is what you're weighting things towards because 43's got a ring with 7, but we don't have that ring without 10. And in some ways, we've got to honor 10. In fact, it depends on who retires first, honestly. If DeMar ends up retiring before Kyle somehow, some way, well, I think we should retire DeMar next, and we should do it immediately. That is the other thing that'll be different, and it will show the change and the difference between Vince and these two guys, 7 and 10, is that we waited to do Vince for sure. We held off for like 4 years until Ed Rogers forced it now. But at 7 and 10, as soon as those guys walk away, we're doing it immediately, and we're putting it up immediately, and that will be a very different kind of thing than this thing with 15. This will be very different. Yeah. Mike saying maybe he believes no matter what he says, people will still dislike him. And him mentioning anything shows he knows how some fans feel. If he acted like everything was fine, would that be worse? He's doing that. That's what I think he's doing, Mike. He's acting like everything's fine and that he didn't do anything wrong. That is worse. I don't know, Mike. Maybe you and I are looking at things really differently. I wonder also, Mike, were you actually around watching the Raptors at that time? Seriously. I don't remember exactly where your fandom starts with the Raptors. Seriously. I don't know if you were actually there very deep in it like I was in 2000 to 2005. Seriously. That's what I got to wonder, Mike, because in some ways, unless you were there and you lived through it, like, did you live through this? Because it doesn't seem like you remember what Vince did right when he left. Please elaborate on that. I just want to know your timeline and why. In some ways, I don't understand why you're trying to, you can say what you think he's saying and stuff like that, but I'm watching him. And you should be watching him too, straight up, and look at his body language. Look at this. You're saying maybe people think he believes no matter what he says, people will still dislike him. No, he's an idiot then. He's stupid. He's obviously stupid if he doesn't understand that we're human. And honestly, I'm crying out for this healing too. I've been crying out for this healing for decades now. And in some ways, he's shown over and over again that it's nowhere near coming from his end. In some ways, he you know what he smacks me of, Mike? He smacks me of, as I said yesterday, a W. Bush, a guy who just, makes mistakes like going to war in Iraq and just won't admit that it's a mistake. He's too above making mistakes. That's his personality. In some ways, it's a sociopathic personality that cannot apologize for his own mistakes. He's never apologized for this, Mike. And don't tell me he has. And don't tell me he's regretted it either. That motherfucker has not regretted this shit. Seriously. Nameless is saying VC came back to the crib, didn't take his shoes off, raided the fridge, and slapped the family pet on the way out. Yeah. I love Nameless's funny ass comments on this. He had some really good ones yesterday, and this is another good one. So Nameless, you're getting a dunk. You're getting a dunk. He slapped the pet on the way out. That's horrible. Who would slap a dog or a pet? That's horrible. 61 dunks for the man that's nameless that does plumbing in the greater Toronto area. Let's see. Cowboy saying, I like that order. Nako, I'd say 10, 7, 43. Yeah, I like his order better. Honestly, if I could have had my way, DeRozan would have been the first jersey retired for sure. Even before Lowry. because that would just show the sacrifice was very, very respected and appreciated of him getting traded for Kawhi. Seriously, in some ways, DeMar deserved to get that championship with us. So why couldn't we let him be the very first Raptors retired as that honor? Instead, we're giving it this jabroni named Vincent Lamar. Seriously, this jabroni, fucking jabroni. All right, let's see. Alley oop to Nameless. Yeah, I got him already. Blank Man saying Orlando had very bad blood for Shaq, but look, they got over it and retired his jersey. And Shaq was way better than Vince. Magic fans had to watch Shaq win championships while they still haven't won. Yeah, this is a very similar situation, and I get it because I was in the Magic fan nation at that time too, and I felt Shaq leaving because honestly, I before the Raptors existed, I was a Magic fan, and I lived in Florida, and I watched all the Magic games when they started in '89 with Nick Anderson, Scott Skiles, Dennis Scott, Jerry Ice Reynolds, Moreland Wiley, Mark Akers, Jeff Turner. Yeah, I'm a big Magic fan from that period, and I remember I watched right up in Penny and Shaq days. And when Shaq left Orlando, it was horrible. And honestly, I don't totally agree with them retiring Shaq's jersey at this point. I really don't. Because in some ways, look, I get it. Shaq's an ambassador. In some ways, for the NBA, he's on TV. He's a personality. He's more forefront. In some ways, Shaq, I could see Shaq coming around and like doing the apologies and doing things in a better way with the Magic franchise than Vince has done. That's part of the problem. It's the disrespect that Vince has shown the Raptors in 2005 is carried over to this day. And that's the problem right here. There cannot be reconciliation if there's no admittance of wrongdoing or regret. And that I have not seen this from Vince. As much as Mike said he's seen it, I have not seen this. And Shaq, I don't know. Shaq could have been like, guys, I could have handled things going out of to LA a little bit better than I did. I'm sorry. I could see Shaq actually apologizing. I mean, I've seen Shaq apologize to people a lot lately. Doesn't he do that thing? I'm sorry, I wasn't familiar with your game. He does that. And he's also apologized to his wife, Shawnee, a lot for things that he's done in infidelity. I think Shaq is not one of these sociopaths that has a problem with apologizing to people like Vince Carter is. And that may be the big difference right there, Blank Man. Right there, yeah. And yeah, it was really hard for Magic fans to watch Shaq go to the Lakers and win multiple championships with Kobe Bryant. It was very, very hard. And I understand their bitterness about it. Thank God karma was on the side of things and Vince Carter never fucking won a championship ring. Seriously. Thank God. Mike's saying his legacy will be as tainted and his 15 won't mean the same as 7. That's for sure. And the 10, but the Raptors made a lot of mistakes in their early years. 2, should we forget the last 15 years? Lay the past to rest. Well, I mean, I'm just saying he could do something very simple and it would help, but he won't do it. It's his pride. It's his ego. It's a blind spot in his life that we've never actually gotten an apology from him, Mike. We never have actually. And like I said, he continues to this day to be a toxic person and a detriment to Raptors Nation. He continues to this day. I'm sorry. Yeah. The future is now. Well, let's go, Scotty Barnes. Let's go, Jacoby Walter. Let's go, Jakob Poeltl. Another person who wasn't at the ceremony yesterday. I realized it now. I was like thinking about it. Jakob wasn't at that Vince Carter thing either. And I'm kind of like have more respect for these guys that weren't. Respect for Scotty, Garrett, Chris Boucher, and Jakob Poeltl for not being at the Vince Carter ceremony on Friday. Mike's saying Scotty Barnes will probably be the best number retired after all is said and done. I hope this is true. But this is what I'm saying, Mike. Why would you want Vince around being a mentor for our team when he could easily be in Vince could be in Scotty's ear telling him to leave Toronto? Seriously, why would you want that guy around? Scotty's smarter than this. And Scotty doesn't look down on Canada like Vince does. He doesn't. We know this for sure. In real life, Scotty loves Toronto and he loves Canada and he understands the respect that goes with this. In some ways, Scotty is way smarter than Vince Carter. Vince Carter is an idiot. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, this is part of the reason why we won't retire Chris Bosh's number, because that number is worn by somebody more important than Chris Bosh in the long run. It's going to be Scotty Barnes. And that number 4 needs to go up with the name Barnes on it. And I don't want to see no half-assed, we're retiring number 4 for Chris and Scotty bullshit. That number is now Barnes. And no number 4 goes in the Raptors for Chris Bosh. No. Fuck that. Yeah. There we go. Amari's saying, morning freaks. What's good? You got the classic card. That's what's good, my guy. That's right. 7 days until we see Shamshe arrive. That's right. This day, next week, I'm going to be doing a preview on Sunday morning next week on 9:30. I'll be setting you guys up with all the information, the referees for our preseason game in Montreal, the injury report, everything you need to know about the game going in before we play the Wizards in Montreal. Yeah, this is your spot for the best game day preview on game days. And then on that Monday, we'll do our first reaction of the season. We'll talk about the game in the morning on Monday morning, and we'll go over everything about the Raptors game against the Wizards in Montreal next Sunday. Yeah, it's fun. I'm excited. I know y'all want to talk Raptors like crazy. It's been a long off season. And when we have a game to watch next Sunday, a week from today, and we get to talk about it on Monday, woo, we're going to be back in our element, baby. That's right. That's the best part of the Raptors channel. Raptors Freak channel is when we are doing our reactions and there are games happening. The off season's a grind, and I did it every single day. Didn't miss a single damn day this year. And I even went to Estonia in the middle of the summer, and I still didn't miss a stream. So I'll keep this streak alive. That's right. That's right. Mike's saying we're celebrating the last 30 years, but we're also saying we are moving on to better times. We are closing the books on the past and moving forward with everything about winning. Now, I love the 30th anniversary thing. Now, Grange is like, is 30th anniversary ever a thing? Shut up, Grange. Every 10 years, you should be doing something like this. 30 years is a milestone. And Grange, you dumbass cynic, you agent for Ed Rogers, bullshit. You know, the thing I'm going to be looking forward to this season is, the throwback stuff is kind of fun to see. The throwback jerseys, the purple court, and also other alumni of Raptors greats coming back. Yesterday was Jose Calderon's birthday, and I wished him a happy birthday on Twitter. I wrote, Jose, Toronto fans love you. You're amazing. Please come back and visit us in Toronto soon. And he liked my comment. Oh, I always love that. I've had a really good week with comments on Twitter. I got Jose to like a comment, and I got Chuck Swirsky to like a comment this week too that I wrote to them. But yeah, I would love to see the former players like Jose Calderon, Terrence Ross, and other Raptors from our past showing up to the game and waving to the crowd and getting the kudos. Because besides Vince and him being the centerpiece of the 30th anniversary, we are going to have other Raptors alumni show up for our games this year. And in some ways, that's something I'll look forward more to than the retirement jersey stuff that's going on. Yeah. Yeah, that's the fun. And we got to remember, it's a 30th anniversary for the whole franchise. This is not just kiss Vince Carter's ass year. All right, guys. Cowboy saying everybody shamshay the like button. I like that. I like that. Use the verb shamshay. That's very, very good. I like that. Shamshay the like button. All right, Cowboy, you want to dunk. You got it. 124 for our guy, the Cowboy. Ta-da. Ta-da. All right, let's see. Wayne's saying our players have nothing to learn from Vince. Raptor Freaks. Our support of our team needs to step up for our coach and front office in all ways. Support for our young team in the first 25 is crucial mentally. There you go. Sergeant at Arms is calling us to arms, that we need to come and support our team undyingly. Even if they're going to be really bad and lose a lot, we need to just support this team and speak them up and be positive for them, because this could be a dark year in a couple different ways. We just have to see how we do. The beginning of the season is going to be very, very hard. Wayne is exactly right. The first 25 games are crucial mentally, and they could set the tone. Scotty, come out there and set the tone yourself and take over and be that phenomena. Maybe you do get some encouragement from Vince Carter becoming a phenomena in Toronto in his early years. Maybe you could do that, Scott, this year, break out and be a powerful all-NBA style talent that absolutely wins games for us. Maybe that little bit of time at the end of the season last year where you sat on the bench with Garrett Temple in your ear, watching the Raptors lose with nobody on the court but the G League guys. Yeah, maybe you learned something about what it takes to close out a game all 48 minutes and take that W from the other team. Because Scotty, in some ways, had a perspective last season that he had not had very much in his career, whether it's at whatever level, because that man's been healthy most of his career. When him sitting out and getting an outside perspective and seeing it and feeling that hopelessness of watching the Raptors collect L's in the last part of the season last year, yeah, he might have some gumption. He might have some I want to win kind of stuff going on. And you know what? Scotty's the kind of player that has powers that can take over a game and win games for us. And I want to see it this year. I want to see that new leap. And that's what I'm looking for right there. Yeah. Mike's saying everything after this year will be celebrating winning and the winning culture we built. I love that, Mike. And honestly, I want to give you a big dunk for that. I know you're dissenting with me to a degree on the Vince stuff, but I also like your voice of reason. And you're saying, you know what, we got to heal. And in some ways, we're going towards winning. I love that, Mike. In some ways, I'm going to give you a big five dunk 132 for Mike on the dunk sheet now. Yeah, that you know what? We need all the different opinions here. And I'm glad there, I was actually hoping some people would come in here that are very pro Vince and start arguing with me. Because seriously, and it's not Mike. I don't want to argue with Mike because I love Mike and Mike and I get along and we Project Truth always. But this is part of what we're doing here, Mike. You got to understand. Part of Project Truth right now is to tell the truth about Vince, and this is important. This is important. Andrew saying, I wish casual fans respected Darko. Yeah, they just don't understand. They just don't understand. They don't give them a chance. Like, once again, there's very surface level fans that only look at the win-loss percentage, and that's all they're judging on. They're not actually understanding exactly all the parameters and what development can happen and him establishing things, and then the turnover of our roster last season. It's very, very hard. Starscream saying, no, Lex, he never made the finals with the Nets. The finals team happened before Vince got here. Oh, thank you for justifying this. Wow. I always thought that he went to the finals with Jason and Richard Jefferson against the Lakers that year, but he wasn't on the team then. That was the year before. Wow. Thank you, Starscream. Big ups to Starscream coming in. I don't know the Nets history like I do the Raptors history, obviously. And I'm going to give Starscream another dunk. So you're now at the Kyle Lowry 7, my guy. You went from Scotty Barnes to Kyle Lowry just in the same day. Thank you for setting me straight and fact checking me, Starscream. I'm not above a reproach. I will apologize for saying the wrong thing earlier that Vince Carter went to the finals with the Nets. I apologize. Oh my gosh. How easy is that, Vince? I just apologize for getting it wrong. Oh my gosh. Is that so hard? Blank Man saying, Raptor Freak, just my humble opinion, outside of 2019, Kawhi, Vince is the best player that's ever played for Toronto. Lowry and DeMar individually, in my opinion, could never carry those early 2000 Raptor squads. Wow. All right. Blank Man, that's a totally valid opinion. And in some ways, all right, I will say this. I think you're right. 2019, Kawhi Leonard is the greatest player that ever played for the Raptors. The single best season by a player ever. Obviously, he's a finals MVP and he's all NBA. He's all-star. He gets the championship. For sure. I won't dispute that. The greatest single player season ever in the history of the Raptors is Kawhi Leonard in 2019. Now, Vince, with what you're saying, we got to understand that those early years with Vince, he actually did have a good team. If people are trying to say that Vince didn't have a good team, that's bullshit. He had Charles Oakley. He had Del Curry. He had Muggsy Bogues. He had Alvin Williams. He had Charles Oakley. He had Antonio Davis. He had Kevin Willis. He had a very good team around him that was veteran at that time. In some ways, that was one of the luxuries that Vince had from coming to the Raptors than another team was they had a veteran core around him that helped protect him. Carter was protected by Oakley, much like Oakley protected Jordan in the 80s on the Bulls. And in some ways, part of the huge success the Raptors had in the playoffs is not Vince Carter. It's the veteran core that we had around a very young rookie Vince Carter. And in some ways, he'd admit this, that if he was on any other team and it was just a bunch of young players, he wouldn't have gone anywhere. So you got to give more credit to the vets that were on the roster with Vince in his early career on the Raptors. You really, really do. Now, I don't know what DeMar or Kyle would do, but I would say this. Their career resumes for the Raptors, long-term, how many years and the stats they accumulated and their achievements are better than Vince's. That's just the damn truth. I mean, DeMar DeRozan's at the top of our franchise scoring list. He's very much near the top. He's higher than Vince. He's got higher numbers than Vince all over the place. He surpassed Chris Bosh also. And then Kyle, well, look, he's got the ring. He's got the accolades, and he did play for the team very, very long time. Some ways I look at you retire a jersey for a player if they put in like 10 years with the roster. Yeah, if they've been on your team for a longevity, that can count. In some ways, my GROAT rankings, when I rank the greatest Raptors of all time, take into account longevity of how long you were here and also how you left and how things were. And that's why on my GROAT list, Vince Carter is not even in the top 5 greatest Raptors of all time because he gets a severe discount for his exit. He really, really does. Kawhi Leonard's not in my top 5 either. I'll tell you my Mount Rushmore of the greatest Raptors of all time are Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Pascal Siakam, and Fred VanVleet. Those are the 4 greatest Raptors in the history of the Raptors. And it's not necessarily because they were the best players. It's because they were the greatest players. And they were the greatest because of their achievements and what they did with what they had as talent. We could look at Kawhi Leonard. We could look at Vince Carter and say those guys are way more talented than the guys we had that I just listed. But they didn't use their talent as well as they could have. Like Gilbert Arenas says, Vince Carter could have tried harder and he could have been even better. And that's what separates him from Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. And Kawhi Leonard, we can look at him. That guy's a quiet quitter too. He quit on the Spurs. He's been hurt most of the time. In some ways, you question Kawhi Leonard's thirst to play, because it seems like he sits out a lot, and maybe he could have played more than he has. So I don't know. These guys aren't exactly the best role models for like trying or using your amazing athletic gifts, because they didn't get the most out of them. And in some ways, I could say that Fred VanVleet, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Lowry, they've gotten the best out of their gifts that they've gotten. They may not have been as talented athletically or gifted as Leonard and Carter, but these guys went further with less. Let's just put it that way. How about that? How about that? Yeah, Cowboys saying, keep preaching logical. The Raptors are coming. There you go. I love that. I do love Mike's sunny forecast for the Raptors going ahead. I hope it's true. I really do. Name's saying VC, half man, less amazing. Half man, half assing. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There you go. And Mo's saying, good one, nameless. You got Mo liking that one. Cowboys saying, I seen Chef Darko. He's going to be cooking the skillet this year. Great person and leader. I'm all about that. Nameless is saying, welcome to Blank Man. I remember Blank Man from before. Blank Man's returning. I'm glad to see you back, Blank Man. I always like to see people come and go. I know not everybody's a regular who's here every day, like a lot of the people are that are here every day, but it's always nice to see the old names come back. And actually, this is the time of year where the old names come back. The season's coming quick. That's right. Mike's saying VC's moment will pass quick, and it's mainly about the first 30 years. When Lowry is retired, it's going to be about Lowry, about just Lowry, because he deserves it. You know what, Mike? These are great distinctions, and I'm really loving what you're saying. You know, you're right. And once again, like I said yesterday, you know, DeMar's going to be here when we retire Vince's jersey. He's going to see how it goes down himself. And in some ways, he can honestly project himself in that spot like Vince, for sure. You're going to get the same thing, DeMar DeRozan. In fact, you're going to get it even more amazing and better. Trust me, you will. And if I know Masai and MLSE around what you did, yeah, you're going to get it even better. So soak it in and watch Vince's ceremony, DeMar, because in the years to come, when you get yours, it's going to be a totally different thing. Look at how Vince's goes, because yours is going to be way better. I'll tell you right now. And Mike's right. We coupled this with a 30-year anniversary year, the Vince thing. And it's in some ways the NBA might have put us up to this, is what we're hearing. I mean, they may have put up the Memphis Grizzlies to retire Tony Allen's jersey this year. Just because it's 30th anniversary, you got to retire somebody. Maybe they put it on the Raptors organization and say, you guys have never retired a jersey. Isn't it about time? You guys have been a franchise for 30 years, and you know Vince Carter, you probably should have retired his jersey. How much did Adam Silver strong arm us to do this? And in some ways, the Brooklyn Nets, in their part of what they were doing too. How much of that was it that? And Larry Tannenbaum stepping to the side and Ed Rogers saying, yes, we're doing it. Yeah, because Larry didn't want to do this. It's very much out in public now that Larry Tannenbaum was against retiring Vince Carter's jersey. Yeah, Larry's a real one. We love him. We love him. I think you're right, Mike. And in some ways, this is the thing. As soon as Lowry and DeRozan hang them up, they're getting up there right away. Right away. There's no delay. That's right. And that'll be a difference there. Right there. Yeah, Cowboys saying that the Raptors are coming 41 plus wins this year. I hope so. I mean, that'd be amazing, but I don't know. I don't know. Grange is projecting a mid-30s win total for the Raptors this season. We'll just have to see how it goes. You know, a lot of factors during the season matter. Injuries for all different teams and all different places. All kinds of different things can have a factor in this. So we'll have to see. Mike's saying VC's retirement is just a footnote this year. There's going to be more events all year. They don't have to do anything with Vince. He's definitely the centerpiece. And we've done one of the ceremonies with him, and we will do 2 more ceremonies. So 3 all together this season, November the 2nd. And then in February, we will also honor him once again. And it'll be for his dunk competition in February. So they'll do the jersey retirement November the 2nd. And then in February, we're actually going to have another Vince Carter night against the Cavs before the All-Star break. And that will be for his 25th anniversary of his dunk competition. That's that. Yeah. So we are going to be honoring him a couple times this year, just so you know. Nameless is saying what Vince did was the equivalency of basketball blasphemy. That's exactly right. I agree with this. Yeah. Cowboys saying true logical. When we retire number 7 or number 10, Vince is going to be like, damn, I fucked up. Toronto's going to be organic shit. It'll take a few days off for it. You know, it'll be a different feeling for sure. It'll be very wholeheartedly more 100% kind of thing. with DeRozan and Lowry. This is so 50-50 split with Vince. It really, really is. And I really do hope, I'm serious. And some people say we're classless for this. I don't give a fuck. In some ways, this is showing self-respect for ourselves. I really do hope there's boo birds at that game on November the 2nd when we do this. I think that we do need to still boo him because honestly, he hasn't. If he had apologized, I would be like, yeah, let's not boo him. Let's he came correct, but he hasn't done that, and that's what he needs to know. That's what he needs to know. You're above apologizing, Vince. Well, you're gonna get boos, is what I'm gonna say right now. Mike's saying Simmons, Anthony Davis, Harden, Kyrie, etc. Vince's exit isn't unique. It happens. It's part of the game in the business of basketball. Yeah, this kind of stuff happens, but in some ways, Vince was the trendsetter. He was one of the very first people that did it kind of like this way. I mean, there's been disputes in the past. We know Barkley really, really wanted out of Philly, and that was ugly with him and Harold Katz and the owner of the Sixers in the 80s before he went to the Phoenix Suns. There have been these kind of disputes, and there is kind of things like that. Like Barkley is not totally cool with Sixers Nation still, even though he is a very iconic Sixer in some ways. It's a weird thing. But in some ways, Vince was a trendsetter for all kinds of bad things, whether it's like being friends with the league over your teammates, whether it's demanding a trade and getting out and being toxic afterwards. Yeah, this is, it doesn't excuse things, Mike, because other people have done this since. Harden is a horrible example. In fact, he may be the worst because he's done it multiple times in multiple places. And that's the thing. What's going to happen when James Harden retires? Who the fuck is going to want to retire his jersey is what I keep saying. Like, if people are thinking about legacy while they're playing, like, are they going to force Houston to retire James Harden's jersey? Will they do it willingly? In some ways, it doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right. And that's what I'm talking about. Players got to understand they need to have respect for the markets they play for, because if you want any kind of legacy or accolades down the road, man, it's going to be making it very difficult and sticky, like Vince Carter's situation right now. Yeah, you can say it's the business of basketball, but once again, players control their image. Players control themselves, what they do and what they say. And Vince was very disrespectful to the Raptors publicly and very disrespectful and quiet quitting. Yeah. Blank Man is saying that Vince Carter for Raptors, Shaq and Penny with Orlando, Larry Johnson and Mourning for the Hornets, Glenn Rice with the Heat. These guys were special, helping to put terrible expansion teams on the map. I thought you were making a list of guys who sold out expansion teams and took off. But no, those guys were actually really good for those teams. Tim Hardaway for the Heat also, I would say, like way, way back, if you're really, really going back. That I get I won't disagree with your list and what you're saying right here, that these are guys that put these teams on the map. And I noticed you didn't put anybody on the map for the Grizzlies franchise because they failed to have a guy that did that. Brian Reeves did not do it. Sharif Abdul-Rahim was just not attractive enough as a superstar to put them on the map. Yeah, the Grizzlies didn't really get put on the map. You can see who they retired the jerseys for. Marc Gasol, NBA champion with the Raptors, and Zach Randolph are the only two retired jerseys for the Grizzlies right now. And those were people that happened in Memphis, not even in Vancouver. But yeah, I mean, I'm not going to disagree with you that these guys put these franchises on the map. That's exactly right. Andrew's saying Lowry's the one and only GOAT. There you go. I like that. Yeah, Blank Man saying what up to Nameless. Nameless saying Vince insulted all the generations of players before him and thousands of players who never had the opportunity to play in the league by quitting on his team and squandering his opportunity. Boom goes the dynamite. There you go. He insulted the integrity of the institution of basketball is what he did. Nameless, you're on fire, man. Your NBA Jam on fire. 64. Your 64 dunks, Nintendo 64. Let's go. Cowboy saying alley-oop to Blank Man. All right, yeah, let's get Blank Man a dunk. Why not? Blank Man showing up and having some good valid points. I'm enjoying it. Blank Man is on the list, and he's got we're gonna give him 5. So he's got a Kyle Lowry 7 now. You got a Kyle Lowry 7, my guy. There you go. Let's see. Where am I here? Andrew's saying the next generation of WNBA hoopers are gonna be nice. Yeah, I could see this naturally happening. If there are dark days for the Raptors coming up, I will still cover them dutifully like I always have. But I may be very much more enthusiastic and excited about our WNBA team in the years to come. And I'm okay with that. I'm glad that we're going to have 2 horses in the race. And that in some ways, also love very much the future of Team Canada basketball, men's and women's. But in some ways, I'm very, very much looking forward to WNBA in Toronto and getting the Raptor Freak treatment for that team because, oh man, it's going to double my workload. In the off season, it's going to be even more of a grind, but it's going to be so much fun. And I'm going to really be excited to see the beginnings of this franchise. We've been so lucky, some of us fans, that we're in the beginning of the Raptors are going to get to be at the beginning of another franchise very soon, also. And I'm excited about it. Mike's saying, nameless, there's a long list of players that have done that. We're talking about 20-year-olds. Yeah, in some ways, it's different in different eras. Like Barkley is a good example from back in the day with the Sixers. That is a very good example of trying to force his way out. But in some ways, it was so hilarious and kind of a novelty at that time. And Barkley was so funny with how he would put down cats and the organization. He was really mad at the Sixers back then, and it was kind of comical in some ways. But yeah, in some ways, this is not something to celebrate or use as excuse. Once again, if everybody's doing something wrong, doesn't mean you need to do it too. And in some ways, this is not a good action. And it's not an excuse for somebody to say, yeah, well, everybody does it. We're just going to be doing forcing trades and being shitting on our teams and stuff. Yeah, it's not an excuse. Nameless is saying everything about that is against the player's code, which should always be held sacred. Listen, be like Fred VanVleet, be like Kyle Lowry, be like those players because they finished their contracts and then they left when they're free agents or they got traded or something like that. Do it the right way is what I'm saying. Do it the right way. There's a right way of doing things. Freddie did the right way. Even if he left and took the big money and went to Houston, he still did things the right way. He honored his contract. He played it out as a Raptor, fully hearted. And I can't get mad at Fred for anything as far as things. His contract was up. He had other opportunities, and he took a big, huge money salary from the Houston Rockets. I can't get mad at him for that. In some ways, he did it in the right order of things. And so that's what you got to do as a player. You got to do it in the right order of things. And then you'll be fine. You can leave Toronto. You can go off to greener pastures or different things going on like Pascal and OG, but they did it the right way. They did it the right way. And that's what matters right there. Mike's saying, I remember being 20 and I wasn't the best decision maker. I thought I knew a lot more than I actually did. It's very similar for most people. Yeah, the thing is with Vince, he was 28, though, when he did the shit that he did to the Raptors. It's not like he was super young. And in some ways, he's just as immature as he was then right now. You can watch the ceremony on Friday. You'll see it. You'll see it. And so I'm saying, yeah, man, long time. Glad to see you still running the show. You're a real one. But I do think they should only honor 7 and 10. I'm with you on this. I'm absolutely with you on this. Overtime, 43 and 23 are going to be honored because they're champions too. And in some ways, I want more Raptor jerseys that are associated with that championship jersey up there. And if we're going to put anybody's numbers up there from the championship team, Lowry for sure. But I would say VanVleet as an undrafted player that did so much. He currently is the highest scoring game in the Raptors history and also the most assists in a game in Raptors history. And he is an amazing story. Not only that, he won a G League championship on the lower level of the 905 and a championship with the Raptors. So he's a double champion. And much like Siakam is the same. And Siakam's a most improved player. He's all-star. He's the second banana on our championship team. We can't honor Kawhi outright because of just 1 year, one and done. Siakam's the next logical choice to get the kudos from the championship year after Leonard and Lowry because he was the second banana leading scorer after Kawhi. So I think that all 4 of those guys are deserving. And it really is because VanVleet is a path untraveled, is like a real crazy story. Fred VanVleet making the league and doing what he's done in his career is absolutely outstanding. And not enough people respect or talk about it in the NBA in general. And it's really sad how people in Raptors fandom do not respect Fred VanVleet and his accomplishments in the same kind of way as the general NBA fan. Seriously, Fred is amazing. He's 5'10". He's under 6 foot. He's the greatest undrafted player in the history of the NBA, and he deserves a jersey retirement. Trust me, he does. Yeah, Smooth saying all of us who paid to watch him play, and he said that. Yeah, it's a slap in the face. People paid money. He got paid millions of dollars to fucking half-ass his life. Vince Carter. That's right. And some saying they need to bring back the OG jerseys with the Raptor. Well, they did that in the 20th anniversary and the 25th. And this year, it's all about that purple front, black back. And that's what we're doing. We're rocking the Vince era jerseys this year. And that's what they'll wear for like 10 or 12 games this season. Smooth saying they would shut down the video game store every time he showed up, drove around Toronto in a Bentley, and still did what he did. Yeah, it is what it is. In some ways, Vince is despicable. He honestly is. Let's see. It's not about wanting out. It's about cheating the game, and that's what he did. Yeah, there's a couple of different cardinal sins he did. Sure, as a diehard Raptors fan who's like, if you're not with us, you're against us, ops kind of thing. He is definitely on the other side. He's an op, and there's all kinds of different things he did. Totally. Nameless is saying, yeah, VC is not the kind of mentor we want for our players. Would you let P Diddy babysit your children? Sorry, I just had to. Damn, that's rough right there. I'm not giving you a dunk for that. That's a cheap one. Let's see. Smooth saying, I have no issues with guys wanting out. That's why we have choices. But if he really did change his mind at 0 hour, why didn't his agent go to Babcock and rescind the trade request? I know. Well, in some ways, I don't know exactly the timing of it or what was possible. I believe what happened was, and this is what Sam Mitchell said as the coach of the Raptors at the time, that he met with Vince in the lobby of a hotel on the road. And Vince came to him and said, I don't want to be traded now after all. I don't want to be traded after all. Now, you remember, I did a Monday Memory just a couple weeks ago where he very publicly said he was pissed off at Rob Babcock for wasting the summer and not trading him over the summer of 2004. And that he was like very much wanting to be traded still. So like only a couple months later, he's like, oh no, I changed my mind. Even though you publicly went public with your trade, in some ways you ruined our ability to have any leverage in our trade talks with trying to move you because you went public with your trade with Doug Smith and your bullshit. Yeah, no wonder you thanked Doug Smith at your ceremony the other day. He helped you the ends to your means of getting out and absolutely making it difficult for Rob Babcock to get any kind of deal in the return because everybody knew you wanted to leave. So it's really fucked up. Now, Sam Mitchell says they sat in the lobby of that hotel, and Vince said, I don't want to be traded after all. And Sam immediately called Rob Babcock and said he doesn't want to be traded now. He doesn't want to be traded. And Rob Babcock told him, the trade's already through. I can't do anything about it. That's what I heard is what happened, that it's already done. The paperwork's already done. And, it's kind of like push-pull. It's like, Vince, you're going to say, trade me. You're not moving fast enough to trade me. And then all of a sudden, Rob Babcock comes through and trades you. And then all of a sudden you say, oh, no, wait, I don't want to be traded all of a sudden right at the end. Like, what the fuck is that? Seriously, think about that. What the fuck is that? Seriously. I mean, Rob Babcock and that quote from the Monday Memory a couple weeks ago said, Vince Carter's under contract with the Raptors, and we fully intend to see him complete his contract as a Raptor. That's what his stance was in September of 2004. But then by December, when he was traded, it changed everything all of a sudden, because it's like, well, he's forcing me. He's not trying on the court. He's holding us hostage by coming out and making a farce of the league and the game by not trying, not jumping. Well, I guess I better trade him now. I think that's how it went down. I remember it going down that way. Because it's like Vince did multiple things to fuck things up with us, whether it's not trying on the court, whether it's his public trade demands, whether it's his wishy-washiness going all over the place. Yeah, people who think that Vince has no blame in his exit in Toronto, you're fucking kidding yourself. Seriously, you're kidding yourself right there. Mike saying, mentoring the current Raptors how not to do things. Look at the mistakes I made and don't do that. Works when it's from someone that understands the place the current players are in. Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, he said, I'll help you go to other teams, basically straight up, Mike. Is this what we want around our Raptors? I know how much you love the Raptors, just as much as me. Do you want Vince Carter teaching Grady Dick on how to get the fuck out of town? Well, listen, Grady, you just don't try. And then you make public trade demands and then you leave. Yeah, sure. I don't think Vince is coming at them as I'm a bad example. He's like, I'm a good example, guys. Look at my great career. Look at how long I was in the league. I was the most popular player in the NBA at one point. And, I could teach you guys the things that he's not going to teach them his mistakes and say, oh, don't make the same mistakes as me as this and this. Maybe behind the scenes, he is saying stuff. I totally regret how things happened with the Raptors, but I will never let the Raptors fans hear this because they booed me for so long. I hate them. And I will never, ever like kowtow and say, oh, I'm sorry that I left the way I did. But I'll say it to you, Grady Dick. I do have a lot of regrets about how I left the Raptors. And I was really shitty about it. And I don't do what I did. I don't know if he's like that, Mike. In some ways, I won't give him enough credit to be smart enough and worldly enough to think outside the box like that. No, I don't think that's what it is. Smooth saying teams pull out of trades all the time. Remember when Toronto and Charlotte agreed to a trade to send Reggie Evans and Jose to the Bobcats for Tyson Chandler and Boris Dio? Yeah, and the very famous New York trade of Kyle Lowry that got rescinded. Yeah, I don't know. In some ways, Rob Babcock and Larry Tannenbaum and those guys at that time may have been like, you know what, fuck you, Vince. We can't trust you at this point. You've been so toxic with your wishy-washiness, your publicness about this with Doug Smith, that we just are going to wash our hands of you, even if it's going to absolutely hurt our team. I mean, after all the crap with him, you would think maybe in some ways they're like, we can't trust you because all of a sudden, you know, what is going to happen if things turn south again? Are you going to be whining and wincing again? Are you going to do something even more fucked up to our team? How can we trust you if you're not out there jumping? So, I mean, we could look at this a couple different ways. Maybe that trade could have been rescinded before, and Alonzo Mourning didn't have to reject us. But I don't know the inner details. Once again, GMs live on the moon. We don't know every single thing that goes into what and that. It would have been awesome if they had done a physical on Alonzo Mourning, found out about his kidneys, and then they rejected the trade because of that. That would have been amazing. But in some ways, the NBA was very happy to facilitate this trade, taking the number one superstar in the whole entire league out of Canada in that market and putting it stateside. So they maybe even if there was like a rescind of the trade from Rob Babcock, they may have been telling him at the time, say, no, you already did it. It's over and done with. You can't go back now. And he couldn't do it. We don't know, Smooth. There could have been a lot of different factors in this that they, you know, that the NBA very much was like, yeah, you're trading Vince out of there. And we're very happy because he's now over here. You know, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know. Race Mode's here. Good to see Race Mode. Race Mode, if you want to play in our fantasy league again, you got to let me know, Edmund. Write it in the chat and say, hey, I want to play fantasy again. In some ways, you did not keep up with your team very well last year. And I have a lot more interest. If you want to relegate yourself and allow somebody else to jump in the league and take your spot that is going to be more active, I would appreciate it, Edmund. But I do also appreciate you jumping in last year and making sure we had the 20 last season. But I know you're a very busy guy. And in some ways, you go on autopilot with your fantasy team. So it's up to you. In some ways, I say don't come back if you're going to do the same thing you did last season. But if you are going to be active manager and you're really going to try and play this year, I'll give you your spot back. But there are a lot of other people that want to play in our league that will take your spot and play for sure if you are not sure if you will. Race Mode saying, without Vince Carter, the Raptors wouldn't exist today. I don't believe that. I think that that's bullshit. I think that's absolute bullshit. And, you know, I'm not the only one that thinks that. Grange, Lewinberg, they both agree with me. I think the Raptors in the market was strong. And I've even said this. If Vince never showed up on the Raptors, Tracy McGrady might have been that star that put us on the map and played as in his heyday, great years on our team without Vince even coming here. In some ways, Tracy asking Isaiah and them to, I don't know, it was Isaiah. It was actually Colangelo. No, it was Grunwald at that time, asking the Raptors to draft his cousin because he was a big part of why we got Vince. Tracy told the Raptors to draft his cousin. If Tracy hadn't done that and Tracy had just been the show here and stayed and then had his excellence with the Magic and the Rockets in a Raptors jersey instead, he could have done the same damn thing that Vince did. So don't think that Vince was integral to the Raptors surviving. This is bullshit, Edmund. This is absolute bullshit. Let's see. He gave the franchise an identity and put Toronto basketball on the map. Without him, we'll still be struggling for relevance in the NBA. I'm just kidding. Okay, he's just kidding. All right, he said all that, and then he put he's just kidding at the end. All right, I'm going to give you a dunk, Edmund. Race Mode, oh my gosh, man. I was like, what a trip there. All right, you're getting a three-pointer. I'm going to put you at 15. You got the Vince Carter 15, Race Mode Daily. Hilarious. Cowboy saying is laughing at Nameless. And Nameless saying, I appreciate Logical's opinion and can understand his perspective too. Well, this is a good thing. We're a think tank. We're a group of Raptors fans that are very passionate, and we're coming with different opinions and stuff, and it all goes together, and it all goes adds to the picture, and that's important. That's important, yeah. So we're saying because of Vince, the Raptors had to endure from 2005 to 2011 irrelevancy, allow Bosch to do the same nonsense, and Toronto was considered a joke. Media was always talking about how stupid the Raptors were. Yes, and yes. And what I took from Vince's speech at Dixon Court on Friday is he wants us to go into another era exactly like that has just been described by Smooth. In fact, he sees us like that. He sees it. Like in some ways, he says stuff like, you guys are getting to retire a jersey. What an honor that I've allowed you guys, because I'm so great, that your lowly franchise, who's never retired a jersey, so many other franchises have retired jerseys over and over again. What an honor that I bestowed on you, Raptors fans and Raptors as a team, that you get to retire a jersey because of a special player like me. That's kind of his attitude on Friday. And then also he says stuff like, he did double down on saying that nobody wants to play here in the middle of his acceptance speech for the Raptors jersey retirement. And then he even told our players, current players, to their face, I can help you get to other teams. That's what I'm saying. That's just disrespect to our faces while we're honoring him. And that is the mentality he has, that he did put us into irrelevancy. He put us into a dark period of time for like 6 years. And it wasn't until Masai, Kyle Lowry, and DeMar showed up that we started pulling ourselves out of there. And this is true. In some ways, Vince Carter still is he's supposed to be our most important person that we're honoring, first ever jersey retirement. And he honestly, on the down low, thinks the Raptors as a franchise are a joke. Like, seriously, let's have some self-respect, Raptors fans, and denounce and reject Vince Carter's jersey retirement, because he really does honestly believe the stuff that Smooth's writing in here. As a person that's supposed to be the most important person that put us on the map, well, that doesn't mean that he respects us or likes us. We're just a means to the end for him. Yeah, Mike's saying what they said about basketball courts was true. My school at Dufferin and St. Clair had 4 square courts and no basketball. I can't remember there ever being a court anywhere, baseball fields everywhere. That's not true. That's bullshit. How the hell is the kid from Kiel becoming who he is, Leo Routens? How the hell are different other Canadian players getting to play basketball if there's no basketball in Canada? Maybe there's less courts then, yeah. But there were courts, and there were a lot of people playing basketball. And there's a lot of people that played basketball in Canada before Vince Carter even came here that look at what he said as insulting. Seriously. I've seen people in the comments about that. What did he just say, that there were no basketball courts in Canada until I showed up? That's absolute bullshit. And seriously, that's just himself feeding his own ego by saying shit like that, Mike. Seriously. Blank Man saying, and no disrespect with anything I said, I get your love for not only your team, but Canada. The dedication of streaming every day proves just that. As an outside fan, I see Vince time with Raptors differently. It's all good, man. And once again, I'm not a cult of personality. We're all passionate Raptors fans, and we're all different. We're varied people. We come from all kinds of different lifestyles and backgrounds, and we're different genders, and we're just Raptors fans. And in some ways, I'm not the end all be all. I know that. And in some ways, I want to allow a forum for a discussion. And that's why people like a Logical Raptors fanatic and yourself, Blank Man, are more than welcome to come in and talk like this. Now, if you have a take that I really disagree with in a crazy way, I may go off. But that's part of the entertainment of the channel. And I appreciate you recognizing me and my streak. Yeah, I've just passed my 3-year birthday of this channel, and 3 years straight, haven't missed a day. Haven't missed a single day. Blank Man, respect to you, man. Yeah, there's the classic card stuff. Very good. Seeing different people chiming in, trying to get the classic card there. Very, very cool. Very, very cool. Amari's saying, is Wemby going in number 1 in the fantasy draft? I don't know. We'll have to see who gets the first pick in the fantasy draft. And guys, we're going to do the Yahoo fantasy draft for this channel and our Raptor Freaks on October the 20th. It'll be the Sunday before the season starts. So we'll do training camp and preseason, and then we'll do the draft. It's actually the best day to do it. I could have done it today, but we don't have things organized fast enough to do it today. So we're going to do the draft on October the 20th. So be ready, pencil it in. That's when our fantasy draft will be 9:30 a.m. on a Sunday morning on October the 20th. Okay, guys? Most saying W stream, W vibes, go Raptors for life. Keep at it always, Lex. Let's get this media day started. I'm excited. Yeah, it'll be fun tomorrow. I hope that they do all of them tomorrow, but it may be broken up. They may just do the players tomorrow and then Masai and the coach on Tuesday. I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully everybody's all tomorrow. And like I said, I'll stream after the media days are over. So I'm going to be very busy tomorrow. Very, 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 very busy. All right, let's see. Cowboys saying later, Lex and Monique and Raptor Freaks, have a safe Sunday. Yeah, thank you, Cowboy. I appreciate you. Mike saying, VC saying the name on the front of the jersey matters more now says to me it's fine to forgive him. He understands what he did wrong. When you care about the front of the jersey, you build a legacy as facts. I know. And when he said that, I was like, yeah, whatever, man. That name on the front that said Toronto didn't matter to you like it does DeMar DeRozan. There's differences in this. There's levels to this. That Toronto on the front for DeMar DeRozan really means something. Trust me. And to Vince, he threw it away like a piece of garbage into a piece in a trash can. So that was kind of condescending. And when he said that, I didn't take that as like healing. I took that as like, really, you're gonna say some shit like that coming from your mouth? It doesn't really fit, because that front of the jersey didn't matter to you. In some ways, it was all about yourself and the Carter on the back. Seriously, seriously. Because in some ways, like, look, Mike, once again, there's speculation that he gave our plays to the Sonics near the end, in the middle of the game. That's not for Toronto. There's speculation that in some ways he was more friendly with other players on other teams than his own teammates. Like, he didn't bond as much with his Toronto teammates as he did as superstars on other teams. Like, he'd have more fun at the All-Star games or at Olympic stuff, hanging out with Jason Kidd and Paul Pierce and his contemporaries that were superstars on other teams. And his teammates on his team were kind of afterthoughts, and they weren't his people. He was like he was a team player of the NBA more than the Raptors. In some ways, that's why I think he's full of shit when he said the name on the front means more than the one on the back. Because when he played for us, that's not true. And that's not the way he carried it. Now, as he went on in his career and he became more and more of a bench player, yeah, that Hawks name on front of his jersey became more important than the Carter on the back. But not when he was in the Raptors. That's not true. That's not true. Trevor's saying, guys, you have to play hard this year in fantasy computation. The trophy be like, wow, to whoever wins it. It's very beautiful. Trevor's already got the trophy for our fantasy basketball league, and it's very beautiful. And he's saying that you better earn it because it's going to be very, very nice. So Trevor's already got the trophy for our fantasy league. We haven't even drafted. Trevor, you're amazing, man. You're amazing. Mike's saying, I'm KD's age. I have a similar fandom. Well, there you go. In some ways, you're like Kevin, who loved Vince also at the same time. Yeah. In some ways, I get it. You guys were younger at that time, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. In some ways, I don't know, Mike. You got to remember also, were you primarily a Raptors fan at that time, or were you an NBA fan? Because that's a different distinction. At the time when I was working at the Air Canada Center, I was very much Raptors first. I wasn't an NBA fan, and I'm just happy to be in the NBA because the Raptors have an expansion team. No, I was diehard. Raptors need to win and be the best first and foremost, right from the beginning, even though there was no realistic chance as an expansion team. And in some ways, that's part of the problem. The fan nation in Toronto was just happy to be in the NBA. So there were a lot of people that were NBA fans, and the Raptors were our NBA team. Now, I was a Raptors fan in the NBA right from the start. And that's the difference in some ways with some ways some people frame their fandom of Vince Carter in the early days. Like Kevin Durant, he could say I was a Raptors fan because of Vince Carter, but he was never really kind of a fan of the Raptors just as a team. He was a fan of the Raptors because of Vince Carter. I was a fan of the Raptors because of the Raptors. I was never a fan of the team just because of Vince Carter. And that's the difference sometimes with some of these fans. Some of these fans say, I wouldn't even be a Raptors fan if it wasn't for Vince Carter. Well, that's the difference right there, Mike. That's the difference right there. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying, if he truly is regretful, just apologize. Yeah. None of us gotten this. None of us has gotten this. And Raptors fans still feel this collectively. A lot of the fans that are like me still feel this. They've never heard the apology, right? Mike's hearing it somewhere. I don't know where he's hearing it, but I've never heard it. Smith saying, I'm not arguing his impact on basketball in Canada. That's undisputed. That's why a lot of people are saying, instead of the Raptors honoring him, why doesn't Team Canada honor him for the effect that they've had on our national team and bringing us great players like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Dylan Brooks, Jamal Murray, yeah, Andrew Wiggins, yeah. Why doesn't Team Canada honor him instead? And the Raptors don't have to honor him at all. That's why I thought a statue outside of the arena that is more about the effect of Vince Carter on Canada is more apropos than a jersey in the rafters celebrating his Raptor career. It's not even good enough to be celebrated, and neither is his Nets career either. It's kind of half-ass bullshit, these jersey retirements, honestly. Seriously. Yeah. Let's see. Smooth saying, simply say, I'm sorry. And that's it. Why not? Yeah. No swearing Sundays. I broke that rule. I'm sorry, Comma Crazy. Select Easy saying, I wish the Raptors organization did something more along the lines of a wall of excellence. Then they could avoid the issue of retiring numbers, but still acknowledge our greatest player. Yeah. Yeah. I like that too. I think that they should do this, Slug. I agree with you, man. Because in some ways, then people can still wear the numbers and honor them. Honestly, there may be a young Canadian player that did really feel the Vince Carter effect and they wanted to wear 15. I think Anthony Bennett was like that. When he wore 15 for the Raptors, he may have been partly wearing 15 because of Vince Carter. And in some ways, that's kind of an honor. That's part of the reason why, in some ways, 23 should be allowed to be worn by a lot of people, because they honor Michael Jordan by wearing it. I mean, are they going to ban the number for Kobe, ban the number for Michael, ban the number for Vince, and you can't even wear it? Well, in some ways, maybe we shouldn't have anybody wearing Vince and honoring him on our team, because he doesn't deserve it. How about that? Yeah. Mike Sand, Leafs culture was like a giant succubus. It took a true superstar to break through and create young basketball fans. Currently, he speaks well of Toronto. The past is different to all of us. Yeah, the future is now. That's fine, Mike. It's fine. I get what you're saying. The Leafs, honestly, in some ways, you could say Vince kind of broke us out from the Leaf shadow a little bit. I would agree with that. But the respect for the franchise and the team and the culture wasn't until DeMar and Kyle that Vince shat on all of it. And then the hockey team was like, yeah, this is great. The Raptors are back to being irrelevant. They were a bit of a threat when Vince was showing up and being the most popular athlete in the world. But now that he's gone, he shat all over them. Well, it's Leaf Nation now. Leafs, 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 Leafs. And it wasn't until Tim Lewicki came, separated the Raptors from the Leafs in some sort of ways, and Masai Ujiri started running things, that we got that culture. And in some ways, Raptors have rivaled the Leafs for popularity in the greater Toronto area. That's right. That's right. I won't say over the whole country or all of Ontario, but definitely down in the city. Definitely down in the city. Cool Cat saying, Lex, today's show was great. Facts, nuanced experience over the years. Vince has shown us who he is. We believe him, forgive but not forget. Looking forward to our 30th celebration of existence. Love seeing the coach Cool Cat come in. You're awesome. We love you so much, Cool Cat. And I hope you're having a fantastic Sunday. I appreciate the compliment. That's a very, very nice thing you just said. And I'm going to give you a dunk just for being awesome. You're at 144 now, Cool Cat. The coach. We love our Cool Cat. That's right. Mike saying, showing Scotty what it means to be celebrated and remembered by Raptors fans after putting in the time with the Raptors will just deepen the connection and appreciation for the work he's been doing currently. Masai is playing 4D chess. I hope he is, because honestly, I don't want the message to be this, Mike. Straight up this. The message from Vince is you can play for the Raptors for a while, have a glory days, and get your name made, and then shit all over them, demand a trade out, and they'll still come around and retire your jersey, Scotty. So it's like, what is that message to Scott? Seriously. At some point, is Scotty going to do a Vince Carter kind of thing? He's like, well, Vince did it. I'm from Florida. I'm like Vince. I could do exactly what Vince does. And because the Raptors fans are so forgiving and they're so awesome, I'll still get honored by them. That's the wrong message. And that's why this shit is fucked up, Mike. Because seriously, we don't want to set a precedent where players that crap all over us, we're still going to honor them later on. Because what does that tell Scotty Barnes? That, yeah, you know what? Don't worry about your exit. You could fuck things completely up, and we'll still kiss your ass at some point 20 years down the road. Yeah, that's not the right message, Mike. And you can spin it the other way, but I think my way is more realistic, honestly. Yeah, Cowboys saying, Kenworth, Roger that, 10-4. There you go, the DAP from the Trucker Cast. That's right. Mike saying, let Scotty see if you F up with the fans. That will be remembered too. It's a balance. Retiring Vince now shows the bad, but retiring 7 and 10 soon will show Scotty how to do it the right way. Yeah. Yeah. And it's great. Scotty has had these moments in his early career with the Raptors so far. He saw the Kyle Lowry return game when he came back as a Miami Heat in the adulation that he got. He saw Danny Green get his championship ring late, a couple of years after the championship, and he saw that kind of feeling and stuff. There's some things that Scotty has been able to see and soak it in and see that. And hopefully he is watching this very intelligently and seeing the whole split about Vince Carter and being like, man, I never want it to be like that with Raptors Nation. That'll suck. I never want it to be like that. Yeah, Scotty, you got to understand, Vince got booed by Raptors fans every single time he came back to Toronto after this whole thing for the rest of his career. Yeah. Yeah, there was one moment where we kind of had a nice special moment, our 10 years ago on our 20th anniversary. But really, you know, yeah, Scott's a smart guy. We're going to have to see how he takes this all in. And in some ways, Scott's got his own path as an NBA player. I hope it stays in Toronto. That's what I'll say right there. Yeah, Blank Man saying, Vince in 2000 with dunk competition and dunked over a 7-footer in the Olympics blew my mind. I did work for my dad just so I could buy the Nike Shocks basketball 4 that year to be like him. Kids were buying them over Jordans and AIs. Yeah, Garnett talks about that, and like some of the other players talk about, there were some players that were buying his shoes just because they thought that it was helping Vince get extra height in jumping. So the shocks were actually very popular at the time. I had a pair myself. I had a pair of customized Nike shocks at that point too. And yeah, there were some people talking that Vince is so good at jumping is partly because of the shoes. Okay, Michael Jordan. It's the shoes, man. Morris Blackman. Yeah. Cool Cat saying I was a Vince diehard. My first heartbreak of Raptors was Vince. It took years to heal. I had to forgive to move forward. I don't hate him. I just accept who he is. I wish I could be a better person like you. I wish I could. Cool Cat, you're awesome. Andrew saying the love for DeMar and Kyle's can be crazy when they retire their jerseys. I think this is true. Mike saying we had the best dunker ever in the game of basketball. That's the reason he's up there. But 7 and 10 will mean different things. Exactly. Mike's right. Mike's right. You know, Mike and I can both be right at the same time. And he's right. He's right. Cowboy saying 15-pointer for you, Lex. Keep up the great work. All right, Cowboy. Thank you. Thank you. You giving me a 15-pointer in honor of Vince Carter? I'll take a 14 from Muggsy Bogues. How about that? I'll do that instead. I'll take the 14. So I'm at 147. I don't want the 15. I don't want the 15. Give me that 14, Muggsy Bogues, instead. All right, let's keep going. Andrew has got me on blast, and he's saying Vince has another chance to come correct with his Hall of Fame speech. Yeah. Well, I don't know if he'll do it at the Hall of Fame, but if he does it for the jersey retirement and the Sacramento game, that could happen. Yeah. Yeah. Blankman saying, come on, Raptors freak, have a heart. Vince and you need to have a sit down and hash this out. I think it could be very beneficial for both sides. That'd be good TV, honestly. If that could happen, that'd be amazing. I promise I won't cuss, Raptors. If you put me in a room with Vince Carter and let me just talk to him and hash this out and fix it, I could make this beautiful. It could be like an episode of Oprah. I'm not lying. Seriously. I'm that kind of person that can really forgive. I'm not that hard line. And in some ways, I may be able to talk to him in a way that could draw it out of him, but maybe he'll just be himself in the way he's always acted. In some ways, I could be psychological with him and talk to him and say, Vince, you know, as a Raptors fan that really, really believed in you and loved you so much early on in your career, I was a member of your fan club. I worked in the arena at the time when you were playing for us. I was there. I felt the amazing energy you brought to the city, the Vinsanity. It was so amazing. You brought us to new heights as a city, as a franchise, and I do appreciate that. But I really don't appreciate what happened when you left. Could you elaborate on what happened a little bit more, please, for me? And see what he says and just go like that. I would do it in a very sensitive way and in a way that, you know, where he could come out as the good guy in the end. I could do this MLSE, seriously, but they won't let me do this. In some ways, he probably wouldn't do this anyway. I'm telling you, he doesn't think anything's wrong and he doesn't have to fix anything. He's perfectly happy being on that other side and being an op with us. He is. And in some ways, we don't want a wolf in sheep clothing in our flock as far as acting like he's one of us and he's with our team when he actually on the down low is not. He really, really isn't. That's what I'm saying right there. I love this blank man. Can you get this together? I would do this in a heartbeat. If not me, get Josh Lewenberg to do it. Somebody get Vince and nail him down and do this interview, please. Mike's saying Steve Francis and the Grizzlies was worse, in my opinion. He said no to coming. At least Vince came and played. I give him that. Well, I agree in some ways. The Grizzlies were in bad shape, and Steve Francis could have had a Vince Carter effect on the West Coast and maybe saved that franchise. In some ways, Steve Francis did really put a nail in the coffin of the Grizzlies being in Vancouver. That's absolutely true. You can watch the Grizzly Truth, and you will see it in there. That then, in some ways, the turning point of Francis rejecting the Vancouver Grizzlies was a nail in the coffin for their franchise going in the wrong direction. And yeah, in some ways, if that action had happened with us, I don't think it would have hurt us, though. We got to understand the market of Vancouver is totally different than the market of Toronto. And Toronto has the goods to support an NBA team no matter what. Vancouver, in some ways, it wasn't the right settings in some ways. There's a lot of people out in Vancouver that like to do sports themselves, and they're not really into spectator sports. And if that team is not good, if it's not doing well, ticket prices aren't doing well, there's problems with the arena, they're mismanaged, they're squandering their draft picks, well, you get what you get. But I don't think the Raptors were ever in trouble like the Grizzlies were. And I think that's a fallacy. I think that's some people like to promote that and say that. Maybe they like the idea of getting rid of the Canadian teams almost immediately. But the Raptors took. And the Raptors overcame any kind of adversities. And I think they would have overcame any adversities with or without Vince Carter coming to this team. I do not believe he saved our team. I really, really don't. I really, really don't. Now, Steve Francis did really hurt that team. Really, really did. Andrew's saying, didn't Alonzo Mourning do that to us? Yeah, he did. He did. He refused to come to the team in return for Vince Carter. To make the Vince Carter trade work, we needed a chunk of salary that was close to him, and Alonzo was that. So we basically got nothing for Vince Carter. And that's why we got put in a hole, in a detriment when he left, is because we didn't get a superstar player in return. We got nothing. We got Aaron Williams and Eric Williams and some other player, and that's it. And Alonzo said, no, I'm not going to Toronto for some reason. And fuck you, Alonzo Mourning, also, is where I'll say it. Yeah, yeah. Francis did it in the 90s. Was it in the 90s when he did it? Listen, if you watch the Grizzly Truth, it really is a turning point when Steve Francis rejects them. And then all of a sudden, the Grizzlies are just spiraling into worse and worse and worse in some ways. And just saying, yeah, he was drafted there and didn't show up right. Yes, that's true. Starscream saying, if you quit on your team and give subpar effort on the court to get traded, then you don't deserve to get your number retired, plain and simple. Looking at you, Vince and James Harden. Boom. And this is Nets fan talking about James Harden and what he saw when he was in Brooklyn. And he sees this as a Nets fan, seeing it from the outside towards us. Yeah, in some ways, your fan nation has put us up to this because y'all are going to go ahead and retire it. And you don't totally agree with that, as you said earlier. So it's like, man, it's like a conspiracy. It's like Vince says this happened organically. This is bullshit. This is bullshit. This is not organically happening. It's because we're having a 30th anniversary and the NBA wants a cash grab. And in some ways, they're strong arming us. They are. Yeah. Mike's saying it crippled Vancouver. It did. Stu Jackson really ran that team into the ground. I'm telling you. Andrew's saying, do y'all think Vancouver gets another shot at a team in the future? I wouldn't go there first. I think there's other Canadian markets that deserve it first. And Montreal looks like they're being primed for it just in case. Yeah, I think there's other cities that need to get on there. Maybe Vancouver's after Montreal on the list, but maybe Calgary or Edmonton's in there. I don't know. I think it's most likely Montreal gets the next shot in Canada. Circling back to Vancouver is not a safe bet, especially if the Sonics come back to Seattle. It's not a good idea. That's too much over there. And that's why Monique's saying no, Andrew. I just don't think it, as much as Vancouver people want the team back, y'all are going to get the Sonics back. And historically, Vancouver was a team that was for the Sonics. That's another reason why the Grizzlies didn't do as well. That market was saturated with another team, the Sonics, and they were actually a very good team at that time with Sean Kemp and Gary Payton. So people in that market had alternatives for rooting. And a lot of the fans in Vancouver did not switch the Grizzlies. They continued to just be Sonics fans or even Trailblazers fans, because that Pacific Northwest is a tight little corner of the country over there. And Vancouver Grizzlies were competing with the Blazers and the Sonics at that time. Yeah, because I know with Tom Duke, he said over there, he was a Blazers fan for a long, long time. And in some ways, he's still a Blazers fan because of the proximity. And the Sonics doesn't help things for Grizzlies coming back. Let's just put it that way. Yeah, I'd say that right there. Yeah. Blank Man saying the difference with Harden and the Rockets and Barkley and the Sixers is they weren't the first superstar those franchises had. Vince was one of one, the very first superstar for Toronto, and that means more. This is exactly right. This is exactly right. In fact, he was our only huge mega superstar, and this whole thing went so south. It's so sad that he couldn't have been more like Damon. If he could have been a little bit more like Damon and Grace afterwards, it would have been helping things. But he's never come correct. He never has. And in fact, like I said, he's doubled down on dissing the Raptors since. As far as being a broadcaster on ESPN, you have to hear him do the Sam Mitchell down there, guys, and you'll understand what I'm saying. If you've never heard Vince Carter call a game for ESPN, and if he ever mentions Toronto or Canada or the Raptors, you will see he disrespects us regularly. Just like our TSN former coach of the year, Sam Mitchell, does. When he's on US TV, he has a different song and dance about the Raptors. When he's on TV on TSN up here, yeah, he's playing nice with us. But we can see both. That's the thing these guys don't understand. Vince, don't you understand? We hear you when you're talking bad about the Raptors on national television on ABC and ESPN. Just so you fucking know. Yeah. Cool Cat saying Siakam is the most awarded player in Raptors history, and he started playing basketball the latest. Awards from Raptors G League champions, MVP of the G League to current. That is NBA history too. Yeah, Siakam is definitely a jersey retirement guy. Definitely. For sure. The accolades are there. That's right. Cowboy wants to give you an alley-oop. I'm all about it. Let's give Cool Cat another dunk real quick. She is now at 147. 147 dunks. Yeah, I like it. I got to finish up, guys. I'm almost at 3 hours. We're doing Lexathons this weekend. I mean, the Vince stuff is really agitated the fan base, and we have a lot to work out. talk about. That's for sure. There's Shamshay again. Shamshay. Mike saying VC and Lowry have been friends and talked for years, and Lowry became the greatest Raptor ever. I'm not too worried about VC like that. I trust Lowry if he says VC has regrets and does support us. Yeah, but Kyle's also best friends with Nick Nurse. Mike, he's also best friends with Nick Nurse. Kyle's able to separate things, but he's also able to take care of his own business and his own legacy on his own. And in some ways, that's fine. I don't mind Kyle being friends with Vince or Nick Nurse or whoever the hell he's friends with. He's got his state of affairs with the Raptors Nation exactly right. And this is all different. So Mike's saying if VC was op, I don't think Lowry pushes to get him back here. Lowry has only ever cared about the Raptors being respected and able to win. Well, what about this? Maybe Lowry recognized how much we hate Vince and he wanted to help fix it. And that's why he pushed to try and get Vince to come back and play on the Raptors near the end of his career. I'd honestly say this, Mike. If Vince Carter had returned to the Raptors and played a little bit on the Raptors at the end of his career, like just one season, he may have healed everything and there wouldn't be a problem right now. So he kind of fucked up not making the option to come to us. And I don't know who got in the way of that, whether it's Vince, whether it's MLSE, whether it's Masai Ujiri. I think that they messed up. I think that it would have made sense that MLSE and Masai were for him coming back, because if they're all about money and merchandising, Vince Carter returning to the Raptors is big money. So I really do think that the person that ixnayed this and didn't make this happen is Mr. Carter and his mom, Michelle. That he didn't come back for certain reasons like that. That would have healed things. I'm going to tell you that right now. I was a little bit excited about Vince Carter possibly playing for the Raptors again when Lowry was on the team, and that would have healed things. In some ways, that's another place where he dropped the ball. And he could be in a whole different place right now with our fan nation right now if he had played one more season with the Raptors and healed the wounds while he was still playing. That would have helped things a lot. Oh my gosh, it would have. Yeah. Mike's saying indoor courts. Yeah, but outdoor courts with rims. No. Yeah. I don't know, Mike. In some ways, we got to go by different regions and different places. I'm not going to say that there were more basketball courts before Vince came here. Sure, there's more since. But to say that we didn't have basketball courts is kind of fucked up. It's kind of fucked up. Chriscom's here. Let's go, Raps. There you go. Everybody's coming back. The great Chriscom is back in the chat. Do you have any predictions? Chriscom, do you have any predictions? Do you predict that people will boo on November the 2nd? Cowboys saying, count me in for the fantasy draft. Let's go. You're in there already, Bradley. I made note of you saying that you want to play. Now, you need to be more active yourself. You were not one of the better teams last year, Bradley. So you need to be more active and more competitive also. That's right. Mo's saying, no more comments. It's almost at 3 hours. Thank you, Monique. Thank you. That's my producer, Monique, telling y'all to calm it down and let me get out of here. Mike's saying, I agree. He wasn't for the name on the front when he was 28, but now at 40 something, almost 50 years old, and after bouncing around and no one caring about him, it's a hard lesson learned. No rap wants that. Yeah. Yeah, Mike, I think you see what I'm saying now. And that's just part of it. In some ways, you're right. Youth, in some ways, you got to learn and mature and have life lessons. And in some ways, you do step in it. It's just how it is. Monique's getting put on blast by Cowboy. Let's go. It's all good. And Cool Cat saying Vince never apologized up to this point in time. He has not. Yeah, he has not. He is not. He's it's incapable. Guardian Transit saying no is my brother. No is my Raptors superstar. You're saying Kalo. You meant to put an L in there. Spell correct got Guardian Transit there. I can see. spell check got him. It's Kalo is my Raptor superstar. I got you, Guardian Transit. Good to see everybody coming in and saying hi. And MK saying, I just got home and opened the box. This is the nicest trophy I've ever held in my hands. It's so heavy. Thank you. Meredith has come home from his camping trip, and he's got the WNBA championship trophy that Trevor J has provided for this channel for our fantasy WNBA league that just wrapped up. Meredith, you went this whole entire season undefeated, which is an unbelievable feat that I've never, ever seen in a lot of fantasy leagues I've been in over the years. I've never seen somebody get through a whole entire season without catching one L. And in some ways, that is such an amazing achievement. You're also the repeating champion. We've played WNBA fantasy 2 years in a row, and MK has won both years. You got a ring and a little trophy last year. This year, you get a big crystal trophy that Trevor sent you. And that is an accolade that you completely deserved. It's amazing that you went undefeated. And this is me showering you with love and respect and saying this is an accolade that is well earned, and you did it awesomely. So, MK, we're proud of you. You deserve that trophy. It's a beautiful crystal trophy that Trevor bought for us to have for you for your championship. And thank you, Trevor, Commissioner Fund, for providing it. And MK, thanks again for such an amazing performance this season in our WNBA Fantasy League. Yeah, you deserve it. And I'm glad you like the trophy and that you got it. You deserve it, man. You totally deserve it. And I kind of wanted to get you another ring because I'm like, man, we want to get rings for all of his fingers. But we got you that crystal trophy instead. Amazing stuff. HC's here too. HC, you're going to come back and play fantasy with us too. I see that. Ready for the draft. This time he's taking number 1. All right. AC was actually a power player in our fantasy NBA league last year, finishing in the top 3. So I expect big things from you again this year. Okay. And Race Mode saying, let's go, Lexathon. That's right. Race Mode is all about the Lexathons. I guess maybe it's because they do Grand Prix with a lot of laps and stuff like that. Now, Edmund, I'm serious. If you're going to play, you need to be serious if you're going to play this year. All right, let's see. Let me go over my tabs and make sure I didn't miss anything. We're pretty sure that the person that was holding up Vince Carter from getting retired as a jersey in the Raptors was Larry Tannenbaum. And now the recent sale of Bell's shares to Rogers. Ed Rogers is in charge, and Larry cannot block Vince getting his jersey retired anymore. He was the one who was doing it. It's come out by Grange on Sportsnet in the last couple of days. Larry, you're a real one. We love you for doing that. Let's see. Leo Routen's life tips real quick. I'm thankful for it all. The highs, the lows, the blessings, the lessons, the setbacks, the comebacks, the love, the hate, everything. That's right. I love that. Leo Routen's. That's right. And that's kind of what Vince is saying. He's like, he loves the hate too right now is what he was saying. I love that Charles Oakley refused to get his jersey retired by the Knicks because he's just saying a big FU to James Dolan. Real quick, the Raptor Freak Instagram stories. It's been a little bit. Kelly Olynyk was back in the community, giving back to the kids out in Scarborough, doing a camp this weekend. Very awesome to see Kelly giving back like that. He's also eating fancy food. That's some sort of weird meat in a sauce with jalapenos on top of it. And there's some sushi. Looks like some salmon and some tuna. Yeah, there's a dog, a really cute dog with his tongue hanging out. That's probably Kelly's dog. Very, very cute little dog that Kelly's got. Slim Duck has got what's wrong with you? Some kid's crazy talking to his dad or something like that. I don't know what he said exactly. It's probably funny. And then what's the name of your school? And it said, my school didn't pay me to advertise for them, so I'm not saying it. That's hilarious. All right, the Raptors last night, the rookies were out in the city. They were at BMO Field. Ulrich Shamshay taking a clip of him on the sideline for the Argos. Actually, they're not even on the Argos sideline. They're on the opposite sideline for the other team. That's no good. Why were the Raptors on the other side again on the team that was not the home team? Why are they standing over there? Shamshay in the rain on the sidelines at a CFL game last night with people like Jamal Shed and Brendan Carlson and Quincy Guerriere, or the guys I could see in there also. Jamal McGlure doing the Scarborough is a joke festival last night. All kinds of good stuff happening last night for raising money for Scarborough out in the east end of town. So yeah, Jamal McGlure always doing philanthropic stuff. It was sold out. They did a good job with the Scarborough is a joke last night. Good stuff happening there. And he's got this one last thing. He's got the field day ribbons. If you're old enough, you remember kids these days will never know how serious field day was. And those different ribbons you got. I don't know if you remember that. McGlure's making fun of that or talking about that. Jamal Shed showing the clip that got released yesterday. The young Raptors saying that Vince Carter is the most iconic Raptor ever. They've got Grady saying it. They got Jamal Shed saying, a couple other Raptors saying that. He's also watching some SEC football. They're watching, I don't know what game that is exactly. And then Shed is at the game last night. The rain's coming down, and Ulrich is wearing a number 45 Mitchell Argos jersey. So, yeah, the Raptors were at the BMO Field watching the Argos last night. Garrett Temple's got some guy talking about something in a car. I don't know what's going on there. Let's see. Is there anything else that's important? Yeah, the Raptors admin just posting that clip of the young Raptors talking up Vince Carter as an icon. That's it. All right, let's see. What else we got? That's about it, guys. Birthday today is Brad Lohaus. Former Raptor Brad Lohaus. His birthday is today. He is turning 60 today. So former player in the NBA, Brad Lohaus, is the birthday today. There you go. There you go. Race Mode saying, let's go. Great stream. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks, Mike. And I appreciate you. Project Truth always, Mike. And I really do appreciate you being here and giving me some counterpoints and working with me today. I really do. You guys are awesome. Thanks for watching. Tomorrow I'll be on a little later after the media day stuff. I'm not going to be on live during it, but I'll give you my reactions immediately afterwards about what was said at media day tomorrow. So remember, tomorrow interviews with the players coming in for starting the season. Media day means the season's starting. So let's watch the Raptors speak behind the microphone tomorrow, and then after they're done, I'll go live and I'll do my reactions. Infamous saying, "Salute, freaks." I'm with you, Lex, on this one. Unfortunately, a lot of Raptors fans are new. Vince is the only player I remember that sat out his own mouth that he quit on us. Never heard a player say that. I've never heard a player admit it either publicly. And that's part of the problem with this is that it's one thing for him to quit on us, but for him to have the audacity and the pride in it to admit that he did, that's just disgusting to me, as far as I'm concerned. Meredith saying, I didn't try to go undefeated. I just tried to make the right decisions. I prioritized acquiring talent and being disciplined with lineups. I got off to a good start, and it propelled me to the finish line. Meredith, you don't have to give us the secrets of your success, but I appreciate the job you did this year. It was fantastic. You were in a tough league. Honestly, you had the David Saborn in there, and Morgan and myself, and a lot of really good teams and competing with you. And the fact that you did this is a huge accomplishment. Be very, very proud, my friend. And I'm glad you got the trophy safely and that you really, really like it. That's awesome, man. All right, guys, have a great day. Raptorize your day like Nat Bhatia. Get out there and touch grass. Scotty would want you to. And I'll be back tomorrow. Let's go, Raptors. We'll be undying for this team on my heart forever. And in some ways, look, we can do this with Vince half-heartedly. And that's right. Well, there's a lot of y'all said this is just a moment. This is just window dressing. This isn't the real meat of what we're doing this season. And that has to do with the guys who are currently on our Raptors team. And that's what I'm looking forward to this season. Sure, some people get all involved, the 30th anniversary and all the things happening. But that's what I'm looking forward to is the basketball. Even if it's a rebuild and it's going to be developing and it may be a little tough, I'm still excited because I want to see progress and I want to see these young players excel and get better and better and better. Let's go, Raptors!